Chapter 862. I can't believe he actually managed to cultivate a Yin soul. Yen Yu exclaimed in surprise as she watched an illusory soul fly out of Yu Yuan's forehead. When she first met Yu Yuan hadn't entered the profound breaker realm yet. She found it hard to imagine that this young man from the Yu clan had already entered the Yin soul realm in such a short time. He was now in the same realm as her. She had already reached the late Yin soul realm and was about to break through to the soul wander realm. However, her cultivation speed was far slower than Yu Yuan's. Be careful. She suddenly thought of something and hurriedly reminded Yu Yuan, fearing that he wouldn't know what was good for him. Those who hadn't entered the soul wander realm would become extremely weak once their Yin soul left their bodies. Surging gales, ice and flames, sharp blades, and spiritual light could all harm their Yin soul. Aside from special places, those who had just entered the Yin soul realm wouldn't easily let their Yin soul leave their bodies unless they were in a sealed cave abode where they had specially refined their Yin soul. I'm here. Don't worry. Yan Qiling reached out and pointed at the air. Space suddenly trembled, causing the entire Yu clan to enter a vacuum. The wind, spiritual energy, light, and even the soul awareness of cultivators were all isolated from the outside world. There wouldn't be any danger in the new environment, unless someone stronger than him broke through the vacuum. He believed that no one in the Silver Moon Empire or Dark Moon City would dare to do so. Feel free to explore the underground. Yan Qiling smiled brightly and looked down at his feet. I'm also curious about what secrets are hidden under the Yu clan's ground. Yu Yuan's Yin soul nodded at him and Yen Yu, then suddenly descended. It easily broke through the surface and entered the ground. Then, it flew all the way down. Before long, he saw a white jade slab engraved with countless spiritual inscriptions. The slab was hard and slightly cold, and the numerous spiritual inscriptions formed an extremely complicated array. A hazy shimmer was emitted from the white jade slab, isolating it from everything else. This is it. He had also sensed this slab the last time he had probed it with his soul awareness. The difference was that previously, he could only use his spiritual awareness to sense the spirit inscriptions. Now, he could see all the spirit inscriptions in detail. Indeed, I guessed correctly. Many of them are from the Blood God and some of them are from the ancient Desolate sect. His nether soul slowly touched the stone slab in his spiritual form. The moment his illusory spiritual form touched it, the spirit patterns carved into the stone slab suddenly came to life. First, there were 8 arrays that shone with a bright red light, as if blood was flowing in the arrays. Whoosh! 8 streaks of blood-red light shot out from the center of the 8 arrays. Following the aura of his Yin spirit, they found his true body standing on the ground and immediately seeped into his chest. The life altar in his blood and chi mini heaven and earth was activated and spun gently. Pung! A violent aura suddenly burst forth from his true form. Wisps of flesh power mixed with the 8 streaks of blood-colored light and drilled into the ground. By the time the 8 streaks of blood-colored light returned to the arrays on the white jade slab, more arrays were ignited and activated. The various restrictive spells that covered them opened one after another like closed doors. With a whoosh, Yu Yuan's nether soul passed through the stone slab and arrived in a secret room made of white jade. In the secret underground room, there was only a white jade table made of the same material. A few items were placed on the table. Yu Yuan's nether soul floated above the table and looked down. He touched a crystal the size of a thumb with thousands of tiny dots of light within it with his nether soul, and immediately saw thousands of tiny words floating in a vast space. Evil Mind Magic. Created by the evil monarch Yu Zhen. It has the miraculous power to control people's mind. Those with strong psychic power should consider cultivating it. As a thought entered Yu Yuan's nether soul, he instantly realized that the finger-sized crystal recorded a profound secret magic that seemed to have been created by the evil monarch Yu Zhen. It was a triangular silver medallion with the words, Evil Monarch Medallion, engraved on its 3 corners. The material was silver and had a cold luster. It didn't look special at all. A dark green iron ring was placed beside the evil monarch medallion. He tried to sense it with his nether soul and immediately sensed a note. Big Dipper Shield, Heaven Grade 8 artifact. Heaven Grade, Grade 8. Yu Yuan's heart shook. He immediately understood that this Big Dipper Shield was definitely extraordinary. It was several grades higher than Chi Nanda's crystal glass bottle and bone-devouring shuttle. The crystal glass bottle was Heaven Grade 2. The bone-devouring shuttle was only Heaven Grade 3. Any Heaven Grade artifact would be ranked among the top treasures for sects like the Heavenly Evil Sect and the Red Devil School. It would be passed down from generation to generation. It was more precious than a talented disciple. The Big Dipper Shield was Heaven Grade 8. It must be a very famous treasure in the Heavenly Evil Sect. He turned his gaze and saw a puppet with a blurry face. It was a small puppet made of wood. It was only the size of a palm, and he couldn't tell if it was male or female. With just a glance, he suddenly had a terrifying feeling that his nether soul was going to be swallowed by this small puppet. Soul Wood Spiritual Puppet, Heaven Grade 7. As long as a cultivator's 3 souls or nether soul is imprisoned inside, they can use the Soul Wood Spiritual Puppet to control their true body and the other parts of their body. If a Freedom Realm cultivator's nether soul is trapped inside, it will be difficult for them to escape control. At the same time, a detailed message entered Yu Yuan's mind like pouring beans from a bamboo tube. His expression suddenly changed. He had vaguely heard of this item 300 years ago when he was still Haunch. The Soul Wood Spiritual Puppet was an extremely evil treasure of the Heavenly Evil Sect. It was rumored that 1,000 years ago, there were experts of the Heavenly Evil Sect who relied on this Soul Wood Spiritual Puppet to secretly control Yang Spirit Realm and Freedom Realm cultivators, making them do cruel things for him. Before the evil king, Yu Zhen, had become famous, the Heavenly Evil Sect's notoriety was mostly related to the Soul Wood Spiritual Puppet. When the evil king became the sect master of the Heavenly Evil Sect, this evil treasure seemed to have been secretly sealed away, not allowing it to appear in the world. Who would have thought that it would appear in the Yu clan's underground stone room 700 years later? There's an interspatial ring. With a smile at the corner of his mouth, Yu Yuan sent a wisp of his soul will into the ring. Then, he saw many medicinal pills, low-grade armor, and piles of spirit jades. What's this? He went blank for a moment before he saw a few thin pages of paper in the interspatial ring. On the paper were beautiful words. I'm Yuing. No matter who you are, the fact that you can see these words means that you're a descendant of the Yu clan and have successfully condensed a nether soul. The Yu clan. Yu Yuan read the words with a wisp of his soul will, and gradually understood what had happened. The evil mind arts, the evil king medallion, the heavenly dipper shield, the soul wood spiritual puppet, the interspatial ring, and the treasures in the ring had all been left behind by her for the Yu clan. To be exact, they had been left behind by the evil king. She had found these things with the help of the blood god, secretly brought them out, and sealed them in the Yu clan. During this time, Yun Hao of the Heavenly Evil Sect had learned about it and arranged for Li Taihai to chase after her. With the help of the blood god, she had hidden for a while after escaping from Li Taihai's ambush and placed these things under the Yu clan. She didn't dare to stay for long, and left in a hurry after the matter was over. These treasures were of great importance. She had told Yu Kan that they could only attempt to explore them after an outstanding descendant of the Yu clan had condensed a nether soul. After all, if her clansmen were weak, the treasures underground would only bring disaster to the Yu clan. No wonder the Heavenly Evil Sect never gave up searching for her. With these thoughts in mind, Yu Yuan suddenly saw the items on the table fly into the cosmos ring one after another. 8 beams of blood-colored light shot into the cosmos ring through the stone slabs. A soul connection was instantly established between him and the ring. The ring instantly became his. Ruan Lengling of the ancient desolate sect took a liking to me and taught me cultivation. However, Ruan Lengling died not long after. She should have been taken to the ancient desolate sect, but instead became a wandering cultivator. Ruan Lengling. Yu Yuan pondered for a moment before coming to a realization. She's the ancestor of Sandalwood and Du Huang's bloodline. In that case, Yu Ying and Sandalwood were senior and junior sisters of the same sect. I wonder if Yu Ying managed to escape the heavenly evil sect's pursuit, and if she's still alive. With this thought, he searched around the stone room. After finding nothing, his nether soul flew out. The interspatial ring also rose from the ground. Chapter 863. As his nether divinity returned to his true form, an inconspicuous silver ring appeared on Yu Yuan's left index finger. With a thought, he transferred many spiritual materials and medicinal pills from the ring of cosmos into the bracelet. Similarly, many items from the bracelet flew into the ring of cosmos. Yan Qiling and Yan Yu watched in silence. Moments later, Yu Yuan handed the bracelet and Ziqing had given him back then to Yan Yu and said, "Please send someone to Yu Town and give this bracelet to my grandfather." Yan Yu was taken aback. But Yu Town is very close to here. With Yan Qiling's help, he would be able to teleport Yu Yuan to the Yu clan's town in the blink of an eye. Even without Yan Qiling's help, it wouldn't take long for Yu Yuan to reach Yu Town by himself. You don't want to bring extra trouble to the Yu clan and that girl in the desolation, abandoned land, do you? Yan Qiling understood Yu Yuan's thoughts. Yu Yuan nodded and stuffed the bracelet into Yan Yu's hands. Yes, I'm in a sensitive position now. If I go to Yu Town rashly, I'll only cause more trouble for them. Also, you don't need to invite them back to Dark Moon City for the time being. With Yu Zhu looking after them, the Yu clan was relatively safe in Yu Town now. On the contrary, it would be inappropriate for them to return to Dark Moon City at a sensitive time when the situation was uncertain. Yan Yu nodded. Yeah, you're right. Yu Yuan muttered, the blood god. Before, he had wanted to return the bracelet to Ziqing. Only after what had happened to his great-aunt, Yu Ying, did he realize that the Yu clan had a deep connection with the blood god. Anwen of the blood god had helped the Yu clan too much, both openly and secretly. Since he couldn't repay all of it in a short time, he decided to keep the bracelet and wait for his patriarch, who had entered the ghost god stage, to repay the Yu clan's kindness in the future. Blood god? Yan Yu clenched her fist. What secrets and treasures did you get from down there? I did, Yu Yuan said with a smile. Anwen of the blood god is a great benefactor of the Yu family. I've guessed it. Yan Yu chuckled meaningfully. And Ziqing of the blood god sect, as a divine daughter, has served you for many years as a servant girl. No matter how I look at it, there's something fishy about it. Anwen probably wants to matchmake the two of you. Yan Qiling looked at his feet. He also knew that the 8 bloodlights that rushed out were the bloodline secret technique of the blood god sect. How could Anwen put that Lin Zhuyun in his eyes back then? He was one of the demonic duo 800 years ago. Evil duo, evil King Yushin, evil god Anwen. That girl. Yu Yuan pursed his lips. I don't know what she's thinking. She almost got me killed several times. Never mind, I won't bicker with her for Anwen's sake. She probably didn't know before. Yan Qiling nodded and motioned for Yu Yuan to continue. Back then, my great-aunt Yu Ying was chosen by Ruan Lengling of the ancient desolate sect and brought into the path of cultivation. Ruan Lengling, Zhongli Great Plate, and the current sect master Han Yu came from the same sect, Yu Yuan said. Han Yu is no longer the sect master of the ancient desolate sect, Yan Qiling said with a smile. After Zhongli Great Plate returned and fought him, Han Yu lost. Yan Yu added, Zhongli Great Plate is inclined to be on good terms with us. Yu Yuan wasn't surprised by their words. Zhongli Great Plate is my senior brother, Han Yu is my junior brother, and Ruan Lengling is my junior sister. My great-aunt died in outer space not long after she cultivated with her. Amen, the same as her master. Did you find anything else? Yen Yu asked curiously. The corners of Yu Yuan's mouth twitched. There are a few things my ancestors left behind. Amen, they're all the things the heavenly evil sect has been searching for. No wonder the heavenly evil sect has been plotting against your Yu family, Yen Yu said. In Yu Town, the old patriarch, Yu Kan, summoned Yu Hu, Yu Wei, and Yu Lian, and showed them the numerous medicinal pills, armor, spirit stones, a crystal that recorded the evil mind arts, and a evil monarch medallion in his mustard seed bracelet. That brat Yu Yuan asked Yen Yu to give them to us, Yu Kan said. Did he dig out the secrets of the underground? Yu Wei's expression flickered. Yes, it was my little sister who obtained them, the old patriarch said with a sad expression. I wonder if she's still alive. There are 2 other heaven-grade spiritual tools in the underground. One is called the Heavenly Dipper Shield, and the other is the Soul Wood Puppet. That brat kept them for himself. He said he would give them to the White Bones ancestor in the Land of Terror. Yu Kan's expression grew somewhat strange. Yuli was taken aback. The White Bones ghost monarch? After a moment of hesitation, Yu Kan said, he said that the White Bones ancestor will become the ruler of the Land of Terror after his secluded cultivation is over. Forget it. Yu Yuan also said that there's no need to keep it a secret anymore. The White Bones ancestor is our Yu clan's patriarch. He was transformed from the evil monarch after he switched to the Tao of Ghost. With these words, Yu Kan straightened his back, looking incomparably proud. What? Our patriarch isn't completely dead, but he's living in a different way? He's going to become a ghost monarch. The 3 of them exclaimed in astonishment. From now on, all members of the Yu clan will have to visit our patriarch in the Land of Terror as soon as they enter the Een God stage. Yu Kan clenched his fists in an attempt to appear more mature, but he was still beaming with joy. I think we'll be able to do whatever we want in the Land of Terror as long as we tell them that we're members of the Yu clan. In the forbidden region of the falling moon. After being escorted back to the Land of Terror by Yen Qiling, Yu Yuan found a quiet place where he took out the cyan-black iron bracelet and put it on his wrist. Heavenly Dipper Shield, 8th level heaven grade. The iron bracelet was extremely heavy, and he couldn't get used to it as soon as he put it on his wrist. It seems that you'll need to refine it for a while. Yen Qiling stood off to the side and took a few more glances at the iron bracelet. It doesn't have a soul. It's a purely defensive item. An 8th level heaven grade shield is no ordinary item. I think you should nourish it with your soul power and flesh aura for a while. Soul power, flesh aura. As a thought entered his mind, wisps of his soul power and flesh power flew into the Heavenly Dipper shield. The cyan-black iron bracelet unleashed a faint aura of the same color as it absorbed his soul power and flesh power like a sponge absorbing water. An hour later, the cyan-black aura emanating from the Heavenly Dipper shield grew slightly thicker. However, Yu Yuan was filled with exhaustion. The Heavenly Dipper shield doesn't seem to be full. He shook his wrist, eyebrows slightly furrowed. It's completely different from my baleful demon cauldron and my scabbard. That's normal, Yen Qiling said with a smile. There's no need to rush. You have time to refine it. With it, you'll be safer in the future. Trust me, it's much more valuable than that animal skin garment Shin Liangquan gave you. Of course I know that. There's no need to rush. Your mother needs time to wake up, and the baleful demon cauldron needs time to gather more souls. The trade fair that's going to be held in that mountain range hasn't started yet. That's all I can do for now. Afterwards, Yu Yuan stayed in the forbidden land of the fallen moon sect, infusing the iron bracelet with his soul power and flesh power from time to time. On a cliff in the star moon sect on the heavenly Yuan continent, under the bright moon high in the sky, a star shone like an eye. Lu Ying stood at the edge of the cliff, sensing the fallen moon sect's forbidden land through the star. Yu Yuan. Chapter 864. That star was none other than the star moon sect's precious treasure, the meteor eyes. Lu Ying's cultivation had always been smooth sailing. When she wasn't working hard, she could rely on her astonishing talent to surpass many of her peers. Yan Lu, Zhan Tianxiang, Lin Zhuyun, and the others had originally been much weaker than her. Her experiences in the Sea of Stardust and Green Phoenix City had transformed her mental state. Therefore, she had started to practice cultivation as soon as she had returned to the Star Moon sect. At this moment, her realm simply couldn't be held back, and she began to advance by leaps and bounds. She had condensed her nether soul at a speed that had shocked the entire Star Moon sect, and even the entire Tianyuan continent, within a short period of time. Then, she had made a series of breakthroughs in her cultivation and reached the late Yin spirit stage. Her rapid breakthroughs had even worried her master, who was afraid that she would be too eager to succeed and lose her mental state. Only after checking her condition several times did the sect master of the Star Moon sect finally feel relieved. If it weren't for the chaos in the forbidden land of terror, she would have been sent there to refine her nether soul and stabilize her cultivation base. However, after observing her for a while, her master was convinced that her cultivation base was very stable. This puzzled her master, as well as the other elders of the Star Moon sect. What they didn't know was that she often used her meteor eyes and the evil divinity statue in the Forbidden Land to spy on what was going on in there. She saw heavenly devils appearing in the Forbidden Land, numerous fierce spirits unsealing themselves, and outsiders roaming in and out of the Forbidden Land. She also knew that many powerful experts from the Primal Yang sect had once stood guard outside the Forbidden Land, and had engaged in fierce battles. However, the battles had already ended. The Primal Yang sect had retreated from the Forbidden Land. What worried Lu Ying the most was that the heavenly devils and outsiders hadn't attacked the empires on the Qianxian continent. Those outsiders abided by the rules of the Star Moon sect, and didn't appear in any of the mortal kingdoms or cities. Puzzled, she often visited the Forbidden Land of the Fallen Moons. However, every time she used her soul awareness to examine it, she would be attacked by the evil divinity statue's chaotic and distorted awareness. She had taken this opportunity to temper her mental state. The reason why she hadn't experienced qi deviation or instability in her cultivation base was because she had been fighting the evil divinity statue every time she visited the Forbidden Land of the Fallen Moons. But today, she actually saw Yu Yuan when she was casually looking around. Yu Yuan! She couldn't help but cry out in the Star Moon sect of the Tianyuan continent. A wisp of soul thought was transmitted through the falling star eyes to the depths of the Forbidden Land, where the sword prison had transformed into an evil statue. The benevolent side of the statue became very blurry. On the other hand, its savage and terrifying side was extremely clear, and it revealed an aura of brutality, bloodthirst, and madness. However, when Lu Ying's cries reached the evil god statue, the benevolent side of the statue seemed to suddenly become clear. At the same time, Yu Yuan, who was infusing soul power and flesh power into the heavenly dipper shield, immediately sensed something. In his mind, the image of the gigantic statue of the evil god appeared almost immediately. What he saw was a kind and gentle side. Between the eyebrows of the statue, a dim light condensed, revealing the falling star eyes. There was also Lu Ying under the falling stars. Yu Yuan. Lu Ying waved her hand vigorously, as if she could see him at this moment. Wisps of soul thoughts came to her mind. Why are you in the Forbidden Land of the Falling Moon sect? I heard that you're in the Heavenly Evil sect's mountain range. Also, where should I go if I want to see you? What happened in the Land of Terror? How did Baigu become a ghoul monarch, and then a ghoul god in such a short time? Why did the Heavenly Evil sect obediently cede those mountain ranges to you? Many questions flooded Lu Ying's mind at once. Yu Yuan smiled. After a moment of pondering, he said, I'll go to the Heavenly Medicine sect in the Jade Peak mountain range soon. It should be more convenient for us to meet there. I'll wait for you at the Heavenly Medicine sect, Lu Ying said without hesitation. As soon as the wisp of soul thought was transmitted, a pained expression appeared on her face, and her eyes suddenly shone with an aura of madness and brutality. She let out a soft cry of pain, as if she knew that communicating with Yu Yuan in this way would make it easier for her to be influenced by the statue. I'll go to the Heavenly Medicine sect. I'll leave first. A moment later, her image vanished. Yu Yuan's body trembled slightly. After opening his eyes, he quietly floated into the air and looked at the small statue in the distance, which seemed to be glowing. It recognizes me. The reason it didn't take over my mind in the great desolate God Lake is because it recognized me. Eyebrows furrowed, Yu Yuan stared at the statue from afar for a while, then landed back on the ground. After that, he began to cultivate the great Yin soul art. Occasionally, he would attract souls to him and refine them with his Yin soul to increase his soul power. Refined soul power continued to be infused into the Heavenly Dipper shield and refined it with his flesh power. Like a bottomless pit, the heaven-grade spiritual tool devoured his soul power and flesh power. However, the greenish-black light it released became more and more refined. There were more than a dozen types of miniature spirit formations inside the spiritual tool, but only a third of them had been infused with power. He inwardly estimated that, with his current progress, it would take him at least a month and a half to refine the spirit formations inside the Heavenly Dipper shield day and night. Only then would he be able to display the wonders of the Heavenly Dipper shield. My progress in the Nether God stage has clearly slowed down compared to my previous breakthroughs. I guess I'll have to work harder from now on. After sighing inwardly, he immersed himself in cultivation again. After an unknown number of days, Yan Qiling, who had been busy all this time, quietly returned with Qin Yun, who was in a sorry state and whose garments were stained with blood. Qin Yun. Young master. A smile blossomed on Qin Yun's wrinkled face. Before Yu Yuan could ask, he hastily said, I heard from the clan master that you went to Yu Town. I secretly asked Yan Yu from Dark Moon City about it, and she told me that you'll be going to the Heavenly Medicine sect soon. So I went to the Jade Peak mountain range to wait for you. But when those people from the 7 divine sects learned that he was in the Jade Peak mountain range, they gathered their forces to kill him, Yan Qiling chimed in. He knew that he was no match for them, so he charged into the forbidden land of the fallen moons. Then, he was discovered by a foreign heavenly devil. He kept calling your name, and a heavenly devil told me. The 7 divine sects? Yu Yuan's expression darkened slightly. The Scarlet Sun Empire should know that you've been guarding Yu Town for me, right? They don't dare to go to Yu Town because Yu Tu is there. As for you, young master, Qin Yun coughed. In many people's eyes, you've already become a devil and a traitor to this world. The 7 divine sects don't think that the Goblin Temple will stand up for you. Yan Qiling smiled and explained, small sects like the 7 divine sects don't have the right to know too much about what's going on behind the scenes. For example, they don't know what the return of the Shunhun sect means. They don't know that even the 5 great sects have started to restrain themselves. How's the strength of the 7 divine sects? Yu Yuan looked at Qin Yun. Right now, 3 of them have entered the Soul Wander realm. The current sect master is at the Middle Soul Wander realm, Qin Yun answered honestly. Mr. Yen, you don't have to do anything. I'll go with him to the 7 divine sects. Chapter 865. In the territory of the Red Sun Empire, bamboo houses, stone halls, and pagodas of various styles could be seen sparsely scattered among the verdant forest. This was the 7 divine sects. The 7 divine sects that relied on the Red Sun Empire were a sect in name, but they didn't have a long history. They were just a loose force that was formed by mountain cultivators. Because of that, the buildings and palaces in this area were built according to their preferences. They didn't have a specific style or structure. For example, the current sect master of the 7 divine sects, Yang Chuha, loved bamboo, so he built a few bamboo palaces with bamboo from the south of the Blue Phoenix Empire. Qiao Yunyu, one of the 7 divine sects, loved rocks, so he built his palaces with granite as the main body. Huang Ming loved wooden pagodas, so he built his cultivation place in the shape of a pagoda. The 7 divine sects, as an independent sect of the Red Sun Empire, had always been recruiting rogue cultivators. As long as they obeyed the orders of the Red Sun Empire, they would be qualified to join the 7 divine sects, regardless of their reputation. However, the cultivators of the 7 divine sects had to follow the orders of the Red Sun Empire's royal family. Qin Yun slipped into the forbidden grounds of the fallen moon. While fiddling with a string of white jade seeds, Qiao Yunyu looked at Lu Su, who had a solemn expression on his face, and said, "Your Highness, the fallen moon Forbidden Land is currently filled with demons. Qin Yun might not be able to survive after entering it." The 7 divine sects palaces were all under the first prince Lu Su's nose. Because of Yang Chuha, the 7 divine sects had all pledged their loyalty to Lu Su. In recent years, because the imperial advisor Zhou Tsangmin had returned to the Red Devil School as a demon seed, the Flaming Sun Emperor had been in seclusion most of the time. No one knew if he was disheartened or if he was really immersed in cultivation. The power of the Red Sun Empire fell into the hands of the first prince Lu Su. Lu Su's cultivation talent wasn't good, so he wasn't favored by the Primal Yang sect or even the 7 divine sects. His teacher was the current sect master of the 7 divine sects, Yang Chua. It was also because of his support that Yang Chu he was able to reach the middle stage of the soul-traversing realm from the late stage of the Yin spirit realm after expelling Qin Yun. As a rogue cultivator, Yang Chu he had been completely suppressed by Qin Yun. When Imperial Tutor Zhou Tsangmin was still in power, the Flaming Sun Great Emperor had used all the rare spiritual materials in the empire to create Zhou Tsangmin. The amount that the 7 divine sects could get was originally not much. Most of it was used by Qin Yun to refine the Azure Sun arrow. Only when Qin Yun was forced to leave and Zhou Tsangmin returned to the Red Devil School and the Flaming Sun Emperor went into seclusion all year round and the first prince Lu Su began to take charge did Yang Chuha finally see the clear sky. In a short period of time, Yang Chu he had relied on the many rare spirit materials of the empire to reach the middle soul traversing realm. He suddenly felt that the reason he was suppressed by Zhou Tsangmin and Qin Yun in the past was not because his talent was lacking, but because he did not have the corresponding spirit materials and resources. This caused him to feel jealousy and hatred towards Zhou Tsangmin and Qin Yun. No matter how dissatisfied he was with Zhou Tsangmin, who was at the peak of power in the Tranquil Continent, the demon seed of the Red Devil School, he did not dare to do anything. However, when Qin Yun left the 7 divine sects and suddenly went to an enemy country and stayed in the Yu family in Dark Moon City, the 7 divine sects saw this as an act of treason. Qin Yun stayed in Dark Moon City all year round and did not leave any room for him to do anything. When he found out that Qin Yun had suddenly appeared in the Jade Peak mountain range, which was the border between the two countries, Yang Chu he gathered the forces of the 7 divine sects and carried out an encirclement. However, Qin Yun still managed to escape all the way to the fallen moon Forbidden Land. Qin Yun has also entered the soul-traversing realm and has refined the Azure Sun arrow back then. He also has a few extraordinary items that he bought from the Tongtian Trading Company in Spider City. Huang Ming, who was also a rogue cultivator, frowned and said, "I heard that the only person Qin Yun truly trusts is Yu Yuan of the Yu family." Yu Yuan? That kid from Dark Moon City, the one who betrayed the Howran in the Azure Phoenix Empire. Qin Yun betrayed the Scarlet Sun Empire and joined forces with Yu Yuan and the demons from beyond the heavens. Isn't that the same? I heard that Yu Yuan is not simple. The experts of the 7 divine sects in the hall started to discuss this matter. At this moment, the tall Lu Su suddenly rose to his feet, holding a crimson badge in his hand. Inside the badge was a 3-legged golden crow standing on 3 blazing suns. Tang Zheng of the Primal Yang sect gave this to me. It's a rank 1 heaven-grade spiritual tool. Whoosh! The badge suddenly released crimson flames, and the 3-legged golden crow inside actually flew out while stepping on the 3 glorious suns. The temperature of the entire hall instantly increased by 10 times. The Primal Yang sect gave me this to show their attitude. Lu Su seemed to be bathed in divine light and fire, looking majestic and noble. How can a small family of Dark Moon City, a kid who betrayed this world, protect Qin Yun? Your Highness is mighty. When the people of the 7 divine sects saw the badge and heard Yang Su's words, they immediately relaxed. Yang Chu, he was only at the Soul Wander realm in the small 7 divine sects, and didn't even have a sun spirit. He wasn't qualified to know what kind of undercurrents were surging in the central great world. They also didn't know what kind of shocking changes the return of the Shunhun sect had brought to this world. Young master, my injuries aren't serious. I don't need to personally go to the 7 divine sects for such a small matter. Qin Yun landed in the evil demon cauldron and appeared as a scholarly young man. At this moment, his eyes were clear, his temperament was calm, and his expression was gentle. He was like a gentleman who was humbly seeking knowledge. Also, the current 7 divine sects are much stronger than when I was in charge. He carefully told them that there were 3 Soul Wander realm cultivators in the current 7 divine sect. In the dynasties of the Qian continent, Yin spirits could already become the elders of a family and the first guest elder. They were also the mainstays of the empires on the surface. Soul Wander realm was the peak of battle strength. The Silver Moon Queen of the past, the state teacher Zhou Tsangmin, and the current Yen Gui were all Soul Wander realm cultivators. They were the leaders of an empire. The current 7 divine sects had Yang Chu He, Qiao Yunyu, and Huang Ming, 3 Soul Wander realm cultivators. The other 4 were all Yin spirit. There were also many Nuance realm and Shattering Mystic realm cultivators under the 7 divine sects, forming a powerful force that served the first prince Lu Su. What, are you worried about my safety? Yu Yuan laughed softly as he looked at the old servant in front of him who looked like this when they first met. Qin Yun's expression was awkward, but he didn't hide his state of mind. I am indeed a little worried. Also, I don't think it's necessary. It's necessary. Yu Yuan didn't explain too much. He only said, the 7 divine sects are frogs in a well. They probably don't know how much the outside world has changed. It's okay. If they don't know, I'll let them know. While the two were talking, the evil demon cauldron quietly crossed the Blue Peak mountain range and headed towards the wilderness. No matter how I cover my tracks, those from the 7 divine sects will still be able to recognize me. Qin Yun smiled bitterly. Because they are too familiar with me. If we enter the Red Sun Empire's territory with the evil demon cauldron like this, we will be easily discovered and targeted. He thought that if Yu Yuan insisted on making trouble for the 7 divine sects, he could borrow Yan Qiling's power. If Yan Qiling opened a path for the heavenly demons to enter the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land, plus Yan Qiling's personal battle strength, he would definitely be able to teach the 7 divine sects a painful lesson. But Yu Yuan didn't choose to do so. According to the agreement, visitors from other realms are not allowed to enter the mortal empires. Yu Yuan pondered for a moment. For a long time, the sects from the Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent wouldn't directly enter the empires. This rule has existed for thousands of years and hasn't changed since ancient times. Sects are sects, clans are clans, and empires are empires. Yu Yuan, who had talked with Yen Qiling, Zuan, and Xie Bin of the Thunder Heaven sect many times over the years, had gradually sorted out his thoughts. Although he used to be the sect master of the 7 divine sects and had a higher cultivation base now, he wasn't as knowledgeable as Zuan and the others. Of course, he wasn't as knowledgeable as Zuan. The 7 divine sects are a gathering of mountain cultivators. They aren't real sections. Yu Yuan grinned brightly. Coincidentally, I'm also a mountain cultivator now. Let's use this identity, just the 2 of us, to openly visit the 7 divine sects. He glanced at the sky and said, if the sects from the Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent dare to interfere, they'll be the ones who broke the rules first. I think that when that time comes, Mr. Yen and the people behind him will have a reasonable excuse. Qin Yun gradually understood, but he was still worried. Is it enough if it's just the 2 of us? It's enough, Yu Yuan said confidently. At the bottom of the small world inside the cauldron, there were nearly 1,000 tormented souls being refined. Above them, there were nearly 5,000 tormented souls. Consort Han was at the top of the pile. She had reached the 9th step. Chapter 866. Yellow Ju Mountain. In the depths of the underground, a vein of ore condensed from brilliant golden light was constantly absorbing abundant spiritual qi. Inside the vein, the gold light slowly condensed into gold nuggets, gold stones, and gold crystals. Old Kappa's broken jade tower was now sitting on top of the vein. He cast spells day and night to collect gold essence and repair the damaged building. Under the pavilion, the copper coins that were spread out were now shining again. The jade pavilion, which had been damaged when he had gone all out to help Yu Yuan on the split Yen Islands, had almost been repaired by the underground veins in the Yellow Jade Mountain. Old Copper had reached the peak of the Soul Wander realm and had the foundation to break through to the Sun Spirit realm. When this jade tower is completely repaired and the underground vein accumulates for a while, I will gather a few rare spiritual materials. Then, after Liang Jingyin, I can rely on Yellow Ju Mountain to transform my Sun Spirit. Every time he thought of his original decision, Old Copper secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, he didn't have evil intentions. He didn't covet the fiendish demon cauldron and secretly kill Yu Yuan. Instead, he chose to stand firmly on Yu Yuan's side as an ally and risk the destruction of the Jade Tower. That choice allowed him to replace Liang Jingyin and become the master of Yellow Ju Mountain again, allowing the Jade Tower to slowly recover. It also allowed him to have a place in the Wushu land. Old Copper, who was very gratified, suddenly felt that time and space were in chaos. The Jade Tower he was hiding in seemed to have quietly become a pavilion in the air, as if it would collapse at any time. His whole body was cold as if he had been struck by lightning, and his face suddenly changed color. In the next moment, he saw a strange and mysterious figure appear in his sea of consciousness. It was a giant spider with a human face. Its 8 legs were like ancient divine pillars that pierced between heaven and earth. Between the 8 legs was a hazy and strange land. The 8 giant spider legs had mysterious natural demonic patterns that contained the power to destroy heaven and earth. That turbid and hazy land, upon closer inspection, was actually the land of wasteland that had been shrunk thousands of times. Inside, Old Copper seemed to see Yellow Ju Mountain. The 8 legs surrounded the miniature Wushu land. The atmosphere was strange and evil, and its ambition was revealed. Miss Yushu. Old Qian Tong licked the corner of his mouth and realized that his soul had been invaded by someone. He became very careful and focused his mind to examine his sea of consciousness again. Immediately, he discovered that the human-faced spider that had intruded into his small world of spiritual awareness was indeed Yushu's small, dark-skinned face. Yutu, who had returned from the Goblin Temple and become an 8th-grade demon, had been staying on the island in the middle of the lake all this time. As she had merged with the great Tao of Wasteland, her battle prowess was equal to that of a ninth-grade demon in this heaven and earth. Here, she was even stronger than Grey Crow of the Goblin Temple. Go to the Red Sun Empire and help Yu Yuan in the direction of the 7 divine sects. With an unquestionable tone, Yu Zhu gave the order directly into Qian Tong's small world, as if he was giving an order to his subordinates. Old Qian Tong immediately felt uncomfortable. He was a late-stage soul-traversing realm cultivator, and was only one step away from condensing the Sun Spirit. As a rogue cultivator, he was used to being free and unrestrained. Being ordered around by the little girl Yu Zhu so easily made him feel that she didn't respect him at all. After this matter is over, you can condense the Sun Spirit in Mount Yellow Death. I will help you. I will mobilize the spiritual qi in the abandoned land and inject it into the mountain to protect you. Yu Zhu spoke again. If you don't listen, I will tear down Mount Yellow Death, tear apart the underground mine, and drive you away. The discomfort in old Qian Tong's heart instantly disappeared because of her words. I'll go now. Inside the small world of the cauldron, Consort Han, who was refining the 10,000-year-old Frosty Soul Frost Crystal, was on the 9th step of the stairs. She was sparkling and translucent, surrounded by an extremely cold aura. Fiendish demons were originally in the form of souls, but at this moment, Consort Han already had a corporeal body that relied on the Frosty Soul Frost Crystal, just like how heavenly demons refined their bodies outside. When Yu Yuan's soul thought approached Consort Han, his soul felt cold. On the 9th step, her battle prowess is similar to the underworld ghosts in the Land of Terror. In the small world inside the cauldron, she can fight the souls of Freedom Realm cultivators. Yui stood on the highest step, swinging her legs lightly. After she leaves, she will almost have the strength of a sun spirit. Yu Yuan continued reading. Apart from the blood moon formed by the second fiendish demon, there were now 4 new faces on the 8th step of the stairs. Silver Lock, a fiendish demon surrounded by silver chains, had been subdued by the cauldron soul Yue in the myriad evils formation. Yellow Lantern Demon, a bright yellow lantern, burned with dark yellow flames. The flames were the Yellow Lantern Demon's soul. Black Woman, an old woman wrapped in a black robe. Her true appearance had yet to be revealed, and her aura was gloomy and desperate. She seemed to be muttering to herself all year round. Yu Yuan tried to listen attentively. Immediately, his scalp went numb, and the evil thoughts in his heart exploded. Broken armor. Pieces of tattered green armor, with an eye of the same color wrapped inside. The blue eye flashed with an inhuman cold light. Yu Yuan looked at it, and his Een spirit stiffened, as if it was filled with stone. On the 8th step, there were 5 fiendish demons. Blood Moon, Silver Lock, Yellow Lantern Demon, Black Woman, and Armor Breaker. After leaving the fiendish demon cauldron, their battle prowess was equivalent to the Soul Wander realm. There were thousands of fiendish demons on the lower levels, and the number of newborn fiendish demons on the 6th, 7th, and 5th levels were much more than before he left the Land of Terror. You don't have to worry about the fiendish demons below the 8th level. They can only be auxiliary to the formation, not the core. They don't have the strength to fight alone. Yui swung her legs and smiled subtly. Master, if nothing unexpected happens, we can easily flatten a small 7th divine sect. I think so too. Yu Yuan nodded. Because he had the fiendish demon cauldron and the scabbard, he was confident enough to face the cultivators of the Scarlet Sun Empire even though he hadn't refined the Heavenly Dipper shield. Half a day later, the fiendish demon cauldron passed by the Scarlet Sun Empire's Flame City. This city was one of the 7 cities of the Scarlet Sun Empire. Rumor had it that an incredible itinerant cultivator once came from this city. He called himself Venerable Flame. After reaching the Yang spirit realm, he followed the experts of the primal Yang sect to fight in the outer heavens. Because of his great achievements, the primal Yang sect spread the news, and the city he was born in was renamed Flame City. Venerable Flame is a legend from 500 years ago. For an itinerant cultivator to reach the Freedom Realm, he is indeed a legend. He looked at Flame City from within the cauldron. If I can reach the Freedom Realm one day, even if I die in battle like him, I will leave my name in history. You will, Yu Yuan said with a smile. He had heard of Venerable Flame from 500 years ago in his previous life. When itinerant cultivators condensed their yang spirits and traveled through the outer heavens, they would often rely on a sect or faction. Venerable Flame was not like that. Rumor had it that he went to the outer heavens with the primal yang sect, but soon parted ways with them. Venerable Flame's Freedom Realm was not achieved in the Howran realm, but in the outer heavens, in a strange realm of the alien race. This shocked many experts in the outer heavens. He died because of it. Qin Yun. It really is you. Suddenly, beams of light shot into the sky from Flame City. After pausing in the air, they immediately flew toward the fiendish demon cauldron. Qin Yun smiled bitterly and shook his head. He urged, "Young master, let's go." Those people from Flame City? Ignore them. As the two exchanged questions, the beams of light shot over. The leader was an old man who looked similar to Qin Yun. You came from Flame City? Yu Yuan was enlightened. Yes, I was born and raised in Flame City. My Qin family's status in Flame City is similar to your Yu family's in Anua City. Qin Yun sighed. Let's not talk about this. I don't want the Qin family to get into trouble because of me. I want to leave, but they don't seem to let me, Yu Yuan said helplessly. Chapter 867. 4 rays of light surrounded the fiendish demon cauldron. The old man who looked similar to Qin Yun had white hair and a white beard. His 2 long eyebrows were like 2 tiny silver snakes that drooped down. Even though he looked old, he was only at the middle stage of the Yin spirit realm. He glared at Qin Yun, who was at the Soul Wander realm, and cursed, "The Empire has treated you well, but you betrayed the Empire and went to a hostile country to make a living. Qin Yun, you still have the face to return to Flame City?" "I'm just passing by." Qin Yun's face darkened. He urged Yu Yuan to ignore these people. Qin Yun was clearly at a higher realm and looked younger, but he was afraid of this person. "Who are you?" Yu Yuan asked curiously. "Qin Feng, the elder of Flame City's Qin family." The old man proudly revealed his identity. He glanced at Yu Yuan and added, "Qin Yun should call me uncle." Yu Yuan was surprised. "You're so old, but your realm is not as high as Qin Yun's. Don't take advantage of your seniority." Qin Yun's face immediately turned red. "I've used the family's precious spiritual materials and elixirs to cultivate the talented juniors in the family. What I care about is to cultivate the next generation of the Qin family. I'm different from some people. When I became the leader of the 7 divine sects, I only had myself in my heart." He was mocking Qin Yun in a roundabout way. "Just admit that you're not talented. You have so many excuses." Yu Yuan snorted. He glanced at the other 3 and found that they were also at the middle Yin spirit realm. The strongest one was at the late Yin spirit realm. He was as thin as a bamboo pole and wore a light blue loose robe. When he flew over, Yu Yuan almost thought that he was a blue banner fluttering in the wind. He was wearing a mustard seed bracelet. His eyes were sharp as he stared at the universe ring on Yu Yuan's finger. "Heh, a man whose heart is not content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant." Yu Yuan cursed inwardly. He knew that this person had other thoughts about his universe ring. Jing Dongbang. Seeing that Yu Yuan was looking at that person, Qin Yun curled his lips and explained the person's background. Fire Worship City's Jing family's ancestor. He then casually pointed at the other 2 elders who were only at the early stage of the Yin spirit realm. Wu Shan and Wu Shui, the 2 elders of the Wu clan in the Flame Worship City. Only when he was facing Qin Feng would he be slightly restrained and uneasy. After all, Qin Feng was his senior. When he was young, he was often whipped and reprimanded by Qin Feng, so he had a shadow of Qin Feng in his bones. He did not care about the two clan elders from the Jing clan and the Wu clan at all. After he had advanced to the Yin spirit realm, he had reached the middle stage of the Yin spirit realm through tempering in the outside world. After he had joined the Seven Deities sect, the clan elders from the Jing clan and the Wu clan would always smile at him whenever he interacted with them. When he was the sect master of the Seven Divine Sects, his power in the Red Sun Empire was second only to the nation master Zhou Tsangmin. Scarlet Sun Empire. Hearing his introduction, Yu Yuan nodded inwardly. He had a rough idea of what was going on. At this moment, he finally understood that the cultivators of the mortal dynasties were indeed very different from those of the other two continents. Some of the talented and capable people in the empires were chosen by the sects and forces of the other two continents when they were young. They would be taken back as soon as they reached the breaking profound realm. Those who had not shown their talents in their youth would also be taken in by the sects once they became outstanding and displayed extraordinary talent and cultivation level. Some of the unruly rogue cultivators would also go to the Lai Yen Islands, the desolate God Great Lake, and other places where cultivators gathered when they became successful in their cultivation. Most of the cultivators who stayed in the empires for a long time had accepted their fate and were not very talented. For example, the four people in front of him were all Qin Feng's seniors. They had lived for at least 100 or 200 years before they reached the Yin spirit realm. Even if they were lucky, the limit of their cultivation in this lifetime would probably be the soul wandering realm. It was unlikely that they would be able to reach a higher level. I'm not even 30 years old and I've already reached the Yin spirit realm. They're 100 or 200 years old and they're just the same, Yu Yuan muttered in his heart. He did not want to waste time talking to them. Forget it. Since you were once from the Qin clan, I won't make things difficult for them. He waved his hand and said to Qin Feng, "Go back to where you came from." Qin Feng did not move at all. He only stared at the junior Qin Yun with a stern expression and shouted, "Don't be so stubborn. As long as you sincerely turn back, I can ask the first prince to let you off before you make a huge mistake." "He's Yang Chu, he's disciple." Qin Yun shook his head. "Then just watch from the side. We're going to capture this kid and hand him over to the first prince," Qin Feng said again. Yu Yuan became impatient. He knew that Qin Yun would not be able to do anything to the clan elders due to his background. He was about to do it himself when he changed his mind. He still did not know the strength of the new fiendish demons in the fiendish demon cauldron, so he might as well test them out. Who? The first to appear was the black woman wrapped in a black robe. Her entire face was covered by the black robe, and only her grayish-white hair could be seen. As soon as she came out, she kept whispering in a low and despairing voice, as if she was sorrowfully calling for her dead son's soul. "Whoa, whoa!" She suddenly started to cry. A dark and sorrowful evil thought that reached straight to people's hearts spread out in all directions like ripples on water. Almost in an instant, blood appeared on the foreheads of the four Yin spirit guests from Flame Worship City. Zheng Dongbang, who was at the late stage of the Yin spirit realm, was as thin as a bamboo pole. He was wearing a green robe with a mystical bird flapping its wings on it, releasing a soul-calming and spirit-calming halo. Crack! In just a few seconds, the halo released by the mystical bird could not withstand the impact of the black woman's evil soul and showed signs of shattering. Jing Dongbang was greatly shocked. He did not expect that Yu Yuan would have such a powerful fiendish demon. He also did not expect that Yu Yuan would immediately attack because of a disagreement. Seeing that the halo was gradually shattering, the strongest expert in Flame Worship City hurriedly fled into the city. As for the two elders from the Wu clan, Wu Shan and Wu Shui, they were only at the early stage of the Yin spirit realm. They did not have such an item that could instantly protect them, so they were already bleeding from their 7 orifices. Wu Shan and Wu Shui had black and green blood flowing from their 7 orifices. Yu Yuan glanced at them and laughed involuntarily. Of all the things to cultivate, you just had to secretly cultivate voodoo's poison art. It turns out that the Wu clan of Flame Worship City has voodoo behind them. What a pity! As the 2 elders of the Wu clan, Wu Shan and Wu Shui, struggled to escape, the black woman's figure split into 2 and entered the 2 elders' sea of consciousness. Then, the 2 elders of the Wu clan, who cultivated poison arts, suddenly let out blood-curdling screams. Qin Feng, who was at the middle stage of the Yin spirit realm, trembled as blood flowed from the corners of his eyes. Qin Yun sighed and said, "Hurry up and return to Flame Worship City. Can't you see? If the young master didn't show mercy, you would have suffered the same fate as Wu Shan and Wu Shui." Qin Feng hesitated for a moment, not daring to look at Yu Yuan. Instead, he glared at Qin Yun and said, "You'll get your retribution." He also reincarnated and left. At this moment, many figures appeared on the tall city wall of Flame Worship City that faced the fiendish demon cauldron. They watched from afar, not daring to act rashly. Old Master Jing is back. It seems that the 2 Wu clan ancestors are going to die. Qin Yun didn't even make a move. What did that brat from Dark Moon City release? How can it be so terrifying? They only dared to shout from afar. After a while, the eyes of the 2 elders of the Wu clan in Flame Worship City sunk and gradually faded. The black woman's figure flew out of their foreheads and seemed to be changing quietly in Yu Yuan's perception. The black woman's fiendish demon origin soul and the black robe were constantly changing. Although it looked like 2 black women had entered the acupoints between Wu Shan's and Wu Shui's eyebrows respectively, one was a spiritual body and the other was a robe. Furthermore, the 2 of them could change at will, making them unpredictable. The 2 black women merged into one and bowed slightly in front of Yu Yuan. Then, they merged into the cauldron. Wu Shan and Wu Shui's corpses fell from the sky like big birds shot by arrows. There should be no one in Flame Worship City to stop us. With a thought, Yu Yuan sent the fiendish demon cauldron into the sky again. He didn't spare Wu Shan and Wu Shui's corpses a second glance. Instead, he secretly communicated with Yu Yi to learn more about the black woman. Qin Yun, who was also in the cauldron, was surprised. He had been near the Yu clan town recently and hadn't been to Spider City. He didn't know that the fiendish demon cauldron in Yu Yuan's hand had become so powerful that it could kill Wu Shan and Wu Shui and make Xing Dongbang, who was at the late Yin spirit realm, flee without a fight. 7 divine sects. He suddenly began to look forward to the next journey. Chapter 868. Jade Peak Mountain Range, Heavenly Medicine Sect. Shi Yuxuan stood like a pine tree in a secret room, looking at Jin Ruru on the jade bed with eyes full of love and expectation. As the 3 souls of heaven, earth, and man entered her body, Jin Ruru's qi and blood gradually became full, and her pulse became stronger. The medicinal energy that surrounded her internal organs and meridians had been subconsciously refined by her. Shi Yuxuan knew that it wouldn't be long before she woke up. Sect Master. Outside, a trusted aide's shout could be heard. Frowning, Shi Yuxuan stepped out of the secret room and came to the outside of the hall. What is it? Look at the sky. The elder of the Heavenly Medicine sect pointed at the azure sky with a worried and puzzled expression on his face. A building made of jade flew across the sky above the beefing mountain range, emitting a brilliant radiance. On the roof of the pavilion, a chubby old man who looked like a rich man from the countryside was leaning against the jade railing. He even seemed to be winking at Nye Tian and grinning at him. The old landlord's clothes were covered in copper coins, which gathered the aura of nobility of the dynasty. Old Copper Chien. Shi Yuxuan snorted softly. Old Copper Chien, the old villain of the wasteland? The elder's expression changed. From what I know, he has a close relationship with Yu Yuan. Because of Yu Yuan, he almost destroyed the Jade Pavilion on the Lai Yen Islands. Sect Master, does this old villain know that Yu Yuan's mother is in our heavenly medicine sect? Shi Yuxuan raised his head and said indifferently, he should know. Sect Master, the Medicine God sect sent word that the spirit herbs we will be offering this year will be 2 months in advance. The elder felt strange when he mentioned this. It's not the end of the year yet. According to tradition, the spirit herbs planted in Jade Peak mountain range will only mature at the end of the year. Shi Yuxuan frowned slightly. Of course he knew that the heavenly medicine sect of the Qian continent had always been a vassal of the medicine god sect. The reason why the heavenly medicine sect could have a transcendent status in the Qian continent and make the nearby Scarlet Sun Empire and Silver Moon Empire, as well as other forces and families, not dare to act rashly was also because of the medicine god sect. Because of this, nearly half of the spirit herbs planted in Jade Peak mountain range had to be offered to the medicine god sect every year. However, this year was a little too abnormal. Yu Yuan is the successor of the previous divine medicine god, Hanch. He is Ruru's son. Shi Yuxuan pondered for a moment and narrowed his eyes. Chu Yao of the medicine god sect should have received the news as well. You want me to hand over the medicinal herbs 2 months in advance. Are you trying to force me to express my stance early? Of course, the heavenly medicine sect's reserve of medicinal herbs would be able to satisfy the medicine god sect's requirements. However, just say that it's not time yet and you can't take it out for the time being, Shi Yuxuan said coldly. Hearing this, the elder's expression changed slightly. Sect Master, it's impossible that the medicine god sect doesn't know about us storing medicinal herbs. Just do as I say. All right. Scarlet Sun Empire, Beacon Smoke City, suburbs. When Yu Yuan, riding on the Fiend Demon Cauldron, approached the smoke-filled city, thick wisps of black smoke shot into the sky. It's actually a type of blackstone cannon. After it's ignited, it forms smoke. Qin Yun looked from afar and laughed. It seems that the Scarlet Sun Empire is on high alert. Those blackstone cannons are used in battles between 2 armies. In the past, if the Silver Moon Empire's soldiers were close to Beacon Smoke City, the blackstone cannons would be ready. He shook his head. I think they're just frightened birds. The blackstone cannons are almost useless against Een spirit cultivators. Een spirit cultivators were as fast as lightning. The blackstone cannons' firing speed couldn't catch up to them. Only heavily armored generals below the shattering profound realm would be heavily injured by the blackstone cannons near the city. Qin Yun found it laughable that Beacon Smoke City had come up with such a formation. They're really afraid. Qin Yun sighed. After Flame Worship City, he and Yu Yuan passed by Scarlet Sun Empire's Molten Pool City. They were also obstructed by 3 Een spirit cultivators from the Molten Pool City. At that time, Yu Yuan didn't summon the strange black woman. Instead, he held the scabbard of a moon-severing grand cultivator and used 2 exquisite sword techniques to defeat the 3 Een spirit cultivators. Beacon Smoke City was the last city they would pass by on their way to the 7 Divine Sect. As for Yu Yuan, he didn't have any intention of getting close to Beacon Smoke City to check it out. It was purely because the cultivators of Beacon Smoke City were afraid and had set up the blackstone cannons early on. I think the cultivators of Beacon Smoke City are really afraid. Yu Yuan grinned. After waiting for a while in the suburbs, he didn't see any powerful cultivators running out of Beacon Smoke City. Battles between cultivators don't involve mortals. We've strictly followed the rules. Qin Yun clasped his fists. Thank you, young master. I'm also from the Scarlet Sun Empire. I've been worried along the way that you'll be in a bad mood and take your anger out on the mortals in the city. Even the foreign demons of the fallen moon forbidden land didn't do anything when they roamed around the Silver Moon Empire, let alone me. Yu Yuan waited for a while. Seeing that there was still no movement in Beacon Smoke City, he said, "Let's go straight to the 7 divine sects." Wu Shan and Wu Shui were both at the early Yin spirit stage. They were also proficient in joint attacks. However, they were killed by a fiend demon summoned by Yu Yuan. In Molten Pool City, Yu Yuan didn't let Qin Yun fight. He used the sharp sword light in the scabbard to injure a mid-Yin spirit and 2 early Yin spirit. Qin Yun hasn't fought yet. Yu Yuan's fiend demon cauldron doesn't have any other powerful fiend demons. 7 divine sects, in front of sect master Yang Chu He's bamboo tower. A group of cultivators without orthodox lineages stood in front of First Prince Lu Su. They were either filled with righteous indignation or worry as they reported the fiend demon cauldron's flight path to him. Lu Su nodded slightly. The two of them must have some skills to dare to come to the Scarlet Sun Empire. Yang Chu he stood in front of a stone trough and scooped up a spoonful of water with a wooden spoon. He put it to his mouth and drank as he listened to the disciples of the 7 divine sects report to his disciple. The first prince, Lu Su, had a calm expression on his face the entire time. Yang Chu he nodded and drank a spoonful of water. Then, he threw the wooden spoon to the side and focused his attention on the water in the stone trough. 3 thin lines suddenly appeared in the water in the stone trough. They looked like 3 meandering rivers. They were 3 rivers that he had carefully refined in the empire. They contained abundant water fate. Yang Chu he's spirit art had a lot to do with rivers and lakes. Every meridian in his body tried to merge with one of the rivers and lakes in the Hauran heaven and earth. He wanted to merge with the heavens and earth. However, this path was extremely difficult. There were countless cultivators like him, including great demons. Lu was one of the best on this path. The reason why Yang Chu he was able to break through to the Middle Soul Wander realm in such a short time was because after Zhou Tsangmin left, the first prince took over the Scarlet Sun Empire. With the first prince's permission, he had secretly refined 3 of the rivers in the Scarlet Sun Empire. This was why his cultivation had soared. Cultivators refining the rivers and lakes in the empire was actually a form of excessive harvesting. Gathering the water fate of the 3 rivers in one's body was a form of harm to the plants, beasts, and mortals living nearby. This was because they also relied on the fate of the rivers. When Zhou Tsangmin was the imperial advisor, he knew that this was a form of harm to the empire and was forbidden. When it came to Lu Su, he had lifted the restriction for his master. This was why Yang Chu he was able to break through to the next realm in such a short time. Yang Chu he hoped that the Scarlet Sun Empire could become a great power and swallow up all the neighboring countries. He could also use this opportunity to refine the rivers of the Silver Moon Empire and the Divine Might Empire into his own power. He could use this to break through to the Yang Soul realm and seek his freedom. Sigh, if only great demon Lu died and the fate he gathered returned to the heavens and earth, I would be able to get a share of it. Yang Chu he muttered to himself. Whoosh! His Yin divinity quietly slipped into one of the refined threads in the stone trough. 100 miles away, Yu Yuan and Qin Yun suddenly sensed something. The two of them looked down from the fiendish demon cauldron and saw the long, flowing river. They saw a figure formed from the river water, standing on the river's surface like a giant. Qin Yun, you still have the face to return to the Scarlet Sun Empire? The translucent water figure stood with his hands behind his back, looking confident and at ease. Whoosh! Endless streams of water's spiritual power flowed towards him from the bottom of the creek. The long, winding river seemed to have a life of its own at this moment. It had its own consciousness and was completely controlled by the water figure. Yang Chu he. Chapter 869. A thick and long water dragon suddenly charged out from the Nimmo River below. Vast amounts of water spiritual chi gathered, causing the silver water dragon that probably weighed 100 tons to charge forward fiercely and heavily. Without waiting for Yu Yuan to inform Yue, the water dragon crashed into the bottom of the fiendish demon cauldron from bottom to top like a reverse waterfall. Boom! Standing in the cauldron, Yu Yuan felt the world spin around him. He did not know where he was. Mist poured into the cauldron. Thousands of tiny streams of water seemed to have entered Yu Yuan's acupoints. Humph! With a thought, the pure spiritual chi of the Golden Hall microworld instantly spread throughout his meridians, destroying the streams of water that had entered his body. If it were any other Yin soul cultivator, they would have been covered in blood by now. However, to Yu Yuan, whose body had been tempered countless times, this level of water was nothing more than a tickle to his body. Yang Chuha, is that all you've got? Yu Yuan cried out. At this moment, streaks of bright water intersected in the air above the Nimmo River. They wrapped around the fiendish demon cauldron like a fishing net and pulled it downward. Whoosh! Whoosh! The water dragon that crashed into the fiendish demon cauldron charged out again after falling into the Nimmo River. Apart from it, a water elephant the size of a small mountain also stepped out of the water. It cooperated with the water dragon to crazily crash into the fiendish demon cauldron. Bam! 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 The pitch-black cauldron that was caught in the fishing net suffered heavy blows as it fell. Yue, the soul of the cauldron, let out a furious roar that tore apart the small world inside the cauldron. She was about to summon the ferocious and brutal fiend demons to poison the Nimmo River down below, so that the water dragons and water elephants formed by water power would explode into water droplets that filled the sky. There's no need. Yu Yuan, who had recovered in the cauldron, gave the order and flew out of the cauldron. Before he arrived, Qin Yun had already left. The moment the two of them left, the water dragon and water elephant that were staring at the cauldron immediately changed their target and stared at the two of them. Yang Chuha chuckled. My ability? I'll let you slowly experience it later. The water dragon and water elephant stood on the surface of the water and immediately stopped. Only the fishing net, made of intertwined water and light, was still wrapped around the cauldron, pulling it into the Nimmo River. The great cauldron quickly sank, as if it was bitten by a demonic beast that wanted to devour it at the bottom of the river. Yang Chuha's Yin spirit had traveled far away and merged with the Nimmo River. At this moment, the body refined from the river's fate energy was already clear. He stood on the head of the enormous water dragon and said, The two of you have come from afar, yet you're able to enter my Scarlet Sun Empire as if there's no one there. Aren't you being a little too arrogant? Brother Qin, even if you successfully stepped into the soul-traversing realm, you should also know that I'm no longer the same as before. You're absolutely not my match, right? With a cold snort, Qin Yun's appearance suddenly changed. It was as if he had aged dozens of years in an instant. He turned from a graceful youth into an old scholar in a green robe. After recovering his true appearance, he took out 3 azure sun arrows, holding one with 2 fingers before saying, Yang Chuha, how did the Emperor allow you to cultivate like this? The Scarlet Sun Empire's climate was hot and there were many mountains within its borders, but little water. Within the entire empire, there were only 3 decent-sized rivers, the Nimmo River, the Azure River and the Nine Bends River. The 3 rivers had been refined by Yang Chuha and the fate energy gathered on his body, causing the trees along the 3 rivers to gradually wither and the fish and prawns in the rivers to gradually decrease. As time passed, it could even cause a drought, causing the mortals who relied on the 3 rivers to suffer heavy casualties. Yang Chuha had refined the rivers using an evil technique and not the Tao merging of the carefree realm. Refining was gathering the fate energy for one's own use. Merging the Tao was mutually reinforcing. While using the rivers to benefit one's cultivation, it would also feed back the rivers, achieving a win-win situation. When Zhou Songmin was still in power, he could tell that Yang Chuhe was full of ambition. He knew that the secret technique he cultivated would endanger the empire, so he could not allow him to act recklessly. This was also the reason why he was the head of the 7 divine sects when their cultivation was the same. The spirit art he cultivated leaned towards the fire element. The Scarlet Sun Empire had many mountains and dry weather, which suited him perfectly. The empire had few rivers to begin with, and there would be frequent droughts. If Yang Chuhe refined the 3 rivers, it would only worsen the drought and cause the mortals to suffer. He believed that the first prince Lu Su should also be able to see the hidden dangers, so why did he allow Yang Chuhe to act recklessly? As long as I break through quickly enough, the Scarlet Sun Empire can take down the Silver Moon Empire and Divine Might Empire, and that hidden danger will be resolved. Yang Chuhe did not care. When I refine the rivers of the Silver Moon Empire and Divine Might Empire, I will have the battle strength of a carefree realm cultivator. With me, the empire will be able to challenge the Azure Phoenix Empire and divide the Qianxian continent. Using this method, even the imperial teacher might not be able to cultivate as fast as me. Yang Chuhe stood with his hands behind his back and spoke of his grand ambitions. Qin Yun, with the Azure Sun art you cultivate, even if you were given another 100 years, you would not be able to reach the carefree realm. Back then, it was the imperial teacher's suppression that allowed you to become the head of the 7 divine sects. If not for the imperial teacher forcing me to refine the 3 rivers, I would be at the peak of the soul-traversing realm right now, preparing to break through to the sun spirit realm. His belly full of complaints were finally vented out after so many years. Yu Yuan watched as the cauldron was dragged into the Nimo River by the fishing net. After communicating with Yu Yi for a bit, he relaxed. Refining the great river, gathering the water to flow through your veins and blood vessels, absorbing the essence of an empire to strengthen yourself. Tsk. Yu Yuan shook his head, his face full of disdain. You, Yang Chuhe, are even more ruthless than the blood god of the tranquil continent. Are you trying to use the Scarlet Sun Empire as a wedding dress for your breakthrough? What do you know, little brat? Yang Chuhe's expression was displeased. With a wave of his hand, the giant water elephant suddenly flew out of the water, its hooves covering the sky as it stomped towards Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan looked up and saw that the giant elephant's hoof was shining brightly under the sunlight. Upon closer inspection, there seemed to be thousands of fishes and shrimps in the hoof, arranged like shrimp soldiers and crab generals, cheering for the giant elephant's kick. With a sneer, Yu Yuan clenched his fist and met the attack head-on. A giant ball of light bloomed on his fist like a flower bearing fruit. The torrential fist aura contained within was like the roar of thousands of demonic bulls, immediately exploding under the giant elephant's hooves. Poof! The giant water elephant's hooves and its mountainous body were blown apart by a single punch. Then, it turned into a downpour and fell onto the Nimo River. The Fiend Demon Sect's body refinement techniques are indeed quite impressive. Yang Chu was a bit surprised. The gigantic elephant that he had condensed from water fate and its powerful attacks were something that normal Een spirit realm experts wouldn't be able to handle without the help of soul items or secret treasures. However, Yu Yuan was able to effortlessly counter it with her fists just by relying on the toughness of her body. If I had an orthodox demon art like the Fiend Demon Sect, why would I go to such extremes and cultivate that evil art of refining a river? Yang Chuhe muttered in his heart as he suddenly felt jealous of Yu Yuan's luck. Suddenly, another 3 giant elephants reformed from water, along with a qilin, a giant snake, a spirit turtle, and other strange beasts, all of which attacked Yu Yuan together. Brother Qin, you should be fine if you didn't die after escaping back to the Falling Moon Forbidden Land. Why did you have to rush out to die? Yang Chuhe didn't look at Yu Yuan anymore. You have the Azure Sun arrow, but I don't have the Water Cloud arrow? Chapter 870. Above the Nimmo River, Yu Yuan executed the fiend devil desolate strength. His blood energy and spirit energy erupted at the same time. Every move he made was supported by a tremendous force. As he waved his clenched fists, huge balls of light rose into the sky like suns. This is more like it. Yu Yuan grinned from ear to ear. He felt that such an exhilarating battle was indeed much better than meticulous pill refinement. Especially when he was in complete control of the situation and could do as he pleased. It was because he knew that the small worlds inside the fiend demon cauldron at the bottom of the river that he had the confidence to walk freely in the Scarlet Sun Empire. Giant elephants, mountainous cheilants, 100-meter-long giant snakes, and spirit turtles were all bombarded by the fists that were as hot as the sun, and they all exploded into raindrops. In the pouring rain, more enormous spirit beasts rushed out of the water, growing and multiplying endlessly. Yu Yuan's expression was calm as he waved his fists and smashed them one by one. When the fiend devil desolate strength was channeled, the spirit energy, blood energy, and blood energy in his veins would wildly gather and explode when he waved his fist. He didn't summon the scabbard or use the fiend demon cauldron. He used his own strength to fight against the strange beasts formed by Yang Chuha and tempered his combat skills. Without relying on external power or using the Yin spirit to merge with the sword arts, pure physical strength should be enough to fight against cultivators of the same level in the ancient Baron sect. Most of the people in the ancient Baron sect who have terrifyingly strong bodies are skilled in battle. Without weapons, their battle strength is unparalleled. Sects and forces that focused heavily on body were almost all battle-crazed and had outstanding individual battle strength. The ancient Baron sect was like this, and so was the Fiend Demon sect. He, who had cultivated the Fiend Demon body tempering art for many years, was able to unleash it to the fullest in this battle against the strange beasts formed by water fate. He discovered that his state of mind was very calm as he fought against the giant elephants and cheilants and expended his blood energy and spirit energy. The anxiety and impatience that he felt after advancing to the Yin spirit realm was greatly alleviated through this battle. Coming to the Scarlet Sun Empire is a way to cultivate and stabilize my new realm. He leaped into the air and slapped the newly formed cheilant's head. A faint red halo appeared in his palm and landed on the cheilant's head, dispersing the water fate inside. After striking a Luan bird and a giant snake with his left and right hands, his brows relaxed and a smile appeared on his face. He knew that all the strange beasts that relied on the Nimmo River were illusory and soulless after all. No matter how many times he killed them, it would not affect Yang Chuha. It could only consume a little of Yang Chu-he's energy. This evil cultivator, who had become popular because of the departure of Imperial Preceptor Zhou Tsangmin, had only used his Yin spirit to refine the power of the Nimmo River. It was enough to give him and Qin Yun a headache. If I didn't have the evil demon cauldron and the scabbard, I probably wouldn't have been able to do anything to him. After this thought surfaced in his mind, his gaze landed on Qin Yun before he could condense a new mutated beast. "Don't use the Azure Sun arrow," he bellowed. The cosmos ring on his hand lit up slightly and a scabbard appeared in his hand. Yang Chuha, who was standing on the water dragon's head, lowered his head and snorted. The water dragon opened its mouth and spat out a silver arrow that was similar to the Azure Sun arrow. The silver arrow was engraved with tiny white clouds and thin streams. The arrow seemed to have refined the white clouds and rivers. There were many wonders within it. He stared fixedly at the silver arrow. If he looked at it a few more times, his eyes would feel a piercing pain. This made him realize that the arrow that Yang Chu-he took out was probably the same kind of treasure as Qin Yun's Azure Sun arrow. Hee, Yang Chuha chuckled. The huge water dragon shattered with a bang. A blurry white light flashed out of the water dragon's body and drilled into the silver arrow. My water cloud arrow is not as precious as your azure sun arrow, but my realm is higher than yours. When Yang Chu he saw Qin Yun hesitate due to Yuan's words, he suddenly plummeted down in his water humanoid form. Then, he gently grabbed the silver arrow. Regardless of what Qin Yun thought or did, he flicked his sleeve. Whoosh! After the tiny water cloud arrow was shot out, a sharp flowing cloud seemed to appear in the sky. Within the flowing cloud, an extremely sharp sword intent was abundant. Yu Yuan stared at the flowing cloud and felt uncomfortable all over. He did not dare to hesitate and immediately pointed at the flowing cloud with the scabbard in his hand. The flowing cloud that was charging straight at Qin Yun seemed to have a life of its own. No matter how Qin Yun flew or dodged, it would not let him go. The flowing cloud continued to pursue, giving Yu Yuan the time to swing his scabbard before the flowing cloud hit Qin Yun. Star-shattering slash. A resplendent light that was crimson in color was extremely dazzling. The dazzling light landed on a section of the flowing cloud, before exploding within the flowing cloud like a magnificent and dazzling fireworks show. At the same time, it also blew up a water cloud arrow, that Yang Chu he had spent a fortune to refine into scrap on the spot. As for Yu Yuan, he gradually expended a few strands of sword beam from the scabbard. After that strike, Yu Yuan withdrew his hand and sent out a wisp of his soul. He could sense the many sword intents and sword beams that had settled at the bottom of the scabbard. They were like ferocious beasts that had smelled blood, ready to take action. As for the sword intent that contained the essence of water and clouds that had been infused into the water cloud arrow, it was naturally dispersed. The essence of the water cloud that Yang Chuha had comprehended and the sword intent that he had refined was not even worth mentioning when compared to what was at the bottom of the scabbard. What was hidden at the bottom of the scabbard, apart from the 9 slashes to heaven of that moon-severing grand cultivator, there was also the sword intent of all the great sword immortals that had died in battle in the history of the sword sect. These sword intents represented the pinnacle of the way of the sword. This scabbard, Yang Chuha muttered to himself. In his water humanoid form, he pondered for a moment. It was also at this moment that he suddenly sensed an extreme coldness emanating from the bottom of the Nile River. It was so cold that it almost froze his soul. The baleful demon cauldron. Yang Chuha's expression changed abruptly as he sensed danger. He immediately disintegrated and Ain's soul floated out. With a flash, it vanished without a trace. The Nile River gradually regained its calm. However, the coldness at the bottom of the river caused Qin Yun to shudder. Lowering his head, Qin Yun sensed for a moment and said in surprise, "Why is there an aura of the 9 underworlds? It's not very likely that this Nile River has a creature from the 9 underworlds in it, right?" "It's Consort Han," explained Yu Yuan with a smile. "Ah!" Qin Yun cried out involuntarily. He thought to himself, "Is that female fiend that once appeared on the island in the middle of the lake so powerful that even Yang Chuha, who is at the mid-soul traversing realm, was forced to retreat by her scent?" On the way here, he had seen Yu Yuan occasionally take out the scabbard and play with it. He had sensed the terrifying sword intent within it, so when Yu Yuan told him not to use the azure sun arrow, he noticed that Yu Yuan had taken out the scabbard and obediently stayed put. He had witnessed the might of the scabbard and the terror of the sword technique. He naturally did not see all the fiend demons in the fiendish demon cauldron. He thought that Consort Han was the same as before. He never expected that when the fiendish demon cauldron sank to the bottom of the Nile River, Consort Han would be able to force Yang Chuha to retreat with a slight display of her strength. Yang Chuha used a strand of his Ein soul to test our strength through the Nimmo River. Yu Yuan lowered his head and watched the fiendish demon cauldron slowly fly up. He said, "His true body isn't here and he doesn't have any handy artifacts. Of course, he doesn't have his true strength. He will be prepared for the 7 divine sect," Qin Yun said in a deep voice. "It's fine." Yu Yuan was not worried. When he was testing me, I was also watching him. This heretic cultivator that refined the 3 rivers is indeed a troublesome fellow. However, I believe we won't suffer too much. It was just a small interlude. When the fiendish demon cauldron left the water, the 2 proceeded forward once again. They headed straight for Yang Chuha's lair, the 7 divine sect. Phew! A faint beam of light flew from the clear water in the stone trough into Yang Chuha's glabella. After a jolt, his expression sank slightly as he said, "Your Highness." Lu Su immediately looked at him. "Teacher, what instructions do you have?" "Summon more experts." Yang Chuha took a deep breath as though he was facing a great enemy. "In addition, please inform the Primal Yang sect that with our Scarlet Sun Empire's combat strength, we might not be able to do anything to Yu Yuan." The moment he said that, the expressions of the people from the 7 divine sect changed. What? That Yu Yuan and Qin Yun are really that powerful? They could tell that Yang Chuha had used a mystic technique to send his Yin soul far away. He must have tested Yu Yuan and Qin Yun's strength, resulting in a new discovery. All of you have already seen Qin Yun's strength. I'm talking about Yu Yuan. Yang Chuha's expression was grim. He's a little troublesome. Just in case, quickly inform the Primal Yang sect. That's because they are coming. All right. I'll do it right away. Chapter 871. After leaving the Nimmo River, Yu Yuan held the scabbard and sensed it from time to time. At the bottom of the scabbard, strands of dense sword intent swam like serpents in a deep pool. He could smell the sword intent with his soul, but when he really wanted to comprehend it, he found it extremely difficult. Many of the sword intents contained within came from the collection of moons severing great cultivators in outer realms. Most of the sword intents belonged to the cultivators of the sword sect who had died in battle. They still had some power left and were imprinted with incomplete sword Dao, but they were not complete. Incomplete sword intents, without a complete system, were extremely difficult to cultivate. That person's 9 slashes to the sky and his sword intent control the sword intents of the other sword sect experts. After thinking for a moment, Yu Yuan quickly understood. The incomplete sword intent and the remaining power were equivalent to the remnants of the army controlled by the Crimson Sword Aura. When Yu Yuan performed the 9 slashes to the sky, it would cooperate with the sword intent and increase the power of the sword intent. That was all. However, because he had not joined the sword sect and did not have the corresponding method of circulating the spirit energy of the sword intent, it was unlikely that he could comprehend the essence of the sword intent. However, the most exquisite sword intent of the 9 slashes to the sky had been deeply imprinted, so he did not need to give up what was near and seek what was far away. Yang Chu's water cloud arrow was fused into a sword intent, but compared to the sword intent in Master's scabbard, it's not even on the same level. As an old rival, Yang Chu's water cloud arrow was actually not as powerful as his Azure Sun arrow. However, because Yang Chu he was already at the middle stage of the Soul Wander realm and had fused Nimmo River's water into the water cloud arrow, the arrow's power was slightly increased. Originally, he wanted to block the water cloud arrow with the intention of using up an Azure Sun arrow. However, after Yu Yuan summoned the scabbard, the problem was solved. The star-shattering slash's bright crimson light burst out with a shocking sword will, which exploded the water cloud arrow and destroyed it, making him very excited. "Young master, is it the treasure and sword Dao inheritance of the sword sect?" he asked curiously. "It's naturally related to the sword sect." The sky gradually darkened. Yu Yuan raised his head and glanced at the clouds. He wondered what had happened that caused the supreme great sword immortal of the sword sect to be surrounded by layers upon layers of experts, causing the blade, scabbard, and sword soul to split into 3. He thought that if the blade was still there and returned to the scabbard, how terrifying would the power be when he wielded the sword with a higher cultivation level? An illusory and magnificent city was vaguely visible in the distant wilderness. Qin Yun was surprised. That's not right. Collecting his messy thoughts, Yu Yuan was also a little surprised. According to what you said, after leaving the Nimmo River, shouldn't we reach the Seven Divinities Sects in 100 miles? That city also belongs to the Scarlet Sun Empire? No, the Scarlet Sun Empire doesn't have such a city, Qin Yun said with certainty. It doesn't belong to the Scarlet Sun Empire. A city that appeared out of thin air. Yu Yuan touched his chin and frowned. He pondered for a moment and said, could it be that we met someone from the Xuantianzong again? Any one of the Xuantianzong's heavenly palace seals could transform into a similar towering city. Mei Qiurong in the early years and Chao Jiazi not long ago had the heavenly palace seals in their hands. After being refined by them, they could transform at will, and each had its own wonders. Under the dark sky, an illusory city appeared out of nowhere. What else could it be other than the Xuantianzong's heavenly palace seal? The Xuantianzong's heavenly palace seal? Qin Yun's expression changed slightly. Master, didn't you say that we wouldn't alarm the three high sects when we came to the Scarlet Sun Empire? He immediately became worried. Anyone who held a heavenly palace seal had an extraordinary status in the Xuantianzong. They were either grand cultivators with profound cultivation bases or outstanding talents of their sex like Chao Jiazi. None of them were easy to deal with. After coming out of the forbidden land of the fallen moons alive, he had witnessed the respect that many outsiders had for Yan Qiling. It was only natural that Qin Yun viewed himself as an enemy of the three high sections. That was why he was afraid of the experts of the three high sections. The three high sects and the force behind Mr. Yen have been observing each other recently. Yu Yuan also grew cautious. Mr. Yen already told me that their recent conflicts all took place in the Starry River. Both sides are from the Howren heaven and earth. They don't want to fight here and cause the mountains and rivers to collapse. A battle between nascent spirit realm and freedom realm experts would be a heavy blow to the Howren heaven and earth society. Therefore, the two sides had a tacit understanding to go to the outer space to fight. If it's not the three high sects, who could it be? Qin Yun asked, puzzled. We'll know when we get there, Yu Yuan said with a snort. With the fiendish demon cauldron and the scabbard in his hand, he didn't think that the Scarlet Sun Empire could pose any threat to him. Moments later, the two of them approached the Starry River on the fiendish demon cauldron. It was already dark, and an incomparably large pearl floated high in the sky, emanating misty light. The floating city they had just seen was inside the pearl. This is the Pearl of Illusion. Yu Yuan was stunned for a moment before he suddenly realized what was going on. Wasn't the pearl in front of him the one who had lured him and Xie Bin out of the city in order to obtain the Ice Thunder Seal back in Cyan Phoenix City? Wasn't it in the possession of that traitor from the Qi clan? Countless figures could be seen flashing through the floating city inside the Pearl of Illusion. They seemed to be nothing more than wisps of gray smoke that didn't have any soul awareness. A golden spiritual sword covered in dragon scales was rampaging through the city inside the pearl like a five-clawed golden dragon. The moment he saw the golden dragon, Yu Yuan felt a sense of familiarity. A few years ago, he had met Wang Jinlin of the Spirit Void sect in the Wasteland, holding a spiritual sword called Serene Gold. It was the same scene. However, Wang Jinlin had died a long time ago. One of the 8 immortals of the Spirit Void sect, Skysoar Immortal. After being stunned for a moment, Yu Yuan suddenly came to her senses. She frowned and said, "That thing is called the Illusion Bead. Its master is called Qi Yunhong. He was originally a cultivator of the Lightning sect, but later defected and fled. Skysoar Immortal of the Spirit Void sect is fighting with him in his Pearl of Illusion." Last time, Qi Yunhong was still at the peak of the Soul Wander realm and hadn't condensed the Sun Spirit. Wang Jinlin's master had already reached the Sun Spirit realm and was at least in the middle or late stage. He spent most of his time in Spider City. Why would he appear here? Qi. A beam of golden lightning flew out of the mirage-like illusory city and turned into an old man holding a sword. Reverend Skysore snorted coldly as the serene gold fell back into his hand. He saw the misty city in the Pearl of Illusion suddenly collapse under the golden light. It looked like a sand city by the sea was being trampled on by someone. It was flattened in an instant. "Old dog, I'm not done with you!" Qi Yunhong cursed in exasperation as he came out of the fantasy bead. A moment later, he also stepped out of the fantasy bead. He held the fantasy bead in his hand and glared at Reverend Skysore. "It's you! Yu Yuan!" The next moment, Skysore Immortal and Qi Yunhong shouted in unison and noticed Yu Yuan, who had mistakenly barged in. "Why are you here?" Qi Yunhong was surprised and appeared beside the evil demon cauldron in a flash. He rubbed his red eyes and said, "That's not right. The last time I heard news of you, you were still in the land of terror." Seeing Qi Yunhong suddenly approaching, Yu Yuan was startled and quickly tightened his grip on the scabbard in his hand. This madman of the Qi family was not a kind person before he was expelled by the Thunder Sect. After he left the Thunder Sect, he did everything according to his whims and caused a lot of trouble. Now Yu Yuan looked at him with rapt attention. From the aura in his eyes, he judged that this person's realm had improved again. He must have successfully reached the Sun Spirit realm. A Sun Spirit realm cultivator was not easy to deal with, especially when he was here in person. Yu Yuan had to be careful. However, Qi Yunhong didn't seem to have any ill intentions. He didn't seem to want to enter the fiendish demon cauldron and get closer to him. This made Yu Yuan secretly sigh in relief. He asked, "Why are you here?" "I was hiding nearby to practice in seclusion to stabilize my realm after breaking through. I don't know how this old dog found me." He pointed at Skysore Immortal and a trace of madness appeared in the depths of his dark red eyes. "When I recover, I'll kill everyone from the Spirit Void sect. Give me the illusory pearl, and the Spirit Void sect will not care about you anymore." Skysore Immortal held the phantom gold and said, "This pearl and the phantom umbrella were originally a set. In the early years, it was divided into two and was held by the Thunder Sect and the Spirit Void sect respectively. Now that you have been expelled by the Thunder Sect, you don't deserve to use the illusory pearl." The Spirit Void sect had high hopes for Chu Jing, who held the phantom umbrella. Once Chu Jing got the illusory pearl, his realm and combat strength would be greatly improved. Skysore Immortal knew that Qi Yunhong was hiding nearby to break through the Sun Spirit realm through secret information, so he came to find him. Qi Yunhong's breakthrough was noticed by someone who told the Spirit Void sect. So, he came. The illusory pearl and the phantom umbrella originally belonged to the Spirit Void sect. They were not yours in the beginning. Qi Yunhong laughed strangely. "You destroyed other sects and took the strange treasures and said they were yours. You Spirit Void sect are really shameless. If you want to be shameless, you won't step on the path of cultivation." Skysore Immortal's expression was normal. He pondered for a while and said to Yu Yuan, "This has nothing to do with you. The 7 divine sects are behind me. You can go now." Chapter 872. Yu Yuan, help me. Qi Yunhong approached with a hopeful expression. "You and I should be on the same side. We have a common enemy." This expert, who had a calm expression but had a crazed look in his eyes, seemed to want to step into the baleful demon cauldron. "Stop!" Yu Yuan raised the scabbard in his hand. Strands of crimson sword aura stretched out from the scabbard like flaming snakes. The thin crimson light contained a peerless sword intent. "I can't help you even if I want to." Then, please stay away from me. Chi. It was as if the power in the scabbard was about to burst out in the next moment. Qi Yunhong was slightly embarrassed. He laughed dryly and did not dare to move forward. He mumbled, "If you don't help me, I will be killed by the Spirit Void sect. It has nothing to do with me." Yu Yuan was unmoved. He turned to look at Skysore Sage and nodded slightly. The baleful demon cauldron suddenly accelerated and flew past Skysore Sage. It flew towards the direction of the 7 divine sects. Behind him, Qi Yunhong and Skysore Sage's battle resumed. The 7 divine sects are very close to here. Why didn't the battle of these two alert others? Previously, when Yang Chu He appeared at the Nimmo River and controlled the water to attack us, they should have sensed it. Also, with Yang Chu He's realm, he should have known that they were fighting. It is indeed strange, Yu Yuan said. The baleful demon cauldron whistled for 15 minutes. The night sky was completely dark. There was no moon, and not a single star was shining. For some reason, the pitch-black night sky made Yu Yuan feel even more stifled and uncomfortable. It was as if something bad was about to happen in the future. The dazzling pearl of illusion appeared once again. Inside the pearl was a magnificent city with figures moving about. Qi Yunhong and Reverend Skysore could be seen casting spells in the city, destroying the city at the center of the pearl of illusion once again. Save me! Qi Yunhong escaped from the pearl of illusion again. His body was covered in blood. His eyes that were gradually losing their rationality were filled with despair and numbness. Yu Yuan exchanged a glance with him, and evil thoughts suddenly appeared in his mind. The youth games seemed to have abandoned the hallucinatory bead. On the way there, he turned back and yelled at Reverend Skysore, who was in the bead, "Take the bead!" Whoosh! Qi Yunhong quietly approached and shouted at the fiendish demon cauldron, "Yu Yuan, I recognize Lord Lu Lu." Seeing this person rapidly approaching, Yu Yuan felt that something was wrong. He said coldly, "I don't recognize Lu Lu. Also, don't drag me into the battle between you and Empty Spirit Sect." As he held the scabbard tightly, he secretly communicated with Yue. A layer of frost formed on the pitch-black cauldron with a crackling sound. The thin layer of ice emitted a cold mist that enveloped the cauldron. The extreme coldness that came from the 9 hells' cold abyss formed a hostile feeling. His hostility was directed at Qi Yunhong. Qi Yunhong, who was in a hurry to ask for help, suddenly stiffened. His eyes dimmed, gradually revealing the will of death. Sigh, forget it. After a faint sigh, he, who was rushing towards the fiendish demon cauldron, fled in another direction midway. Hundreds of meters away, Reverend Skysore, who was in the hallucinatory bead, was still holding the dark gold. He looked at Yu Yuan with a strange expression. Immediately, the hallucinatory bead and Reverend Skysore disappeared, as if they had never appeared. Something's not right. Qin Yun's muscles were tense. He held an azure sun arrow in his hand and said with a serious expression, when Qi Yunhong approached, "I felt a very subtle malice." He said that he was on the same side as us, but the feeling he gave me was not so. "I also feel that something is not right," Yu Yuan said. Qi Yunhong and Reverend Skysore were both Sun Spirit Realm cultivators. They could not be compared to Soul Wanderer Realm cultivators like Yang Chu He. Sun Spirit Realm cultivators could truly threaten him, forcing Consort Han to use all her strength. "Master, how about we forget about the 7 divine sects?" After thinking for a while, Qin Yun sincerely suggested, "I smell danger. I'm afraid the situation will get out of control and exceed your expectations. Since it has come to this, let's wait and see." Yu Yuan frowned. "Actually, we should have arrived at the 7 divine sects from the Nimmo River a long time ago." Qin Yun looked around and released wisps of his soul, sending them to the small mountains, plains, and narrow rivers in all directions. "This is a place I'm familiar with. Nothing has changed, but I keep feeling that something is amiss." Yu Yuan, who had never been here before, could not find any clues even if his soul wandered in all directions. Therefore he said, "Stay cautious. Let's wait and see." All right. Another hour passed. Help! Yu Yuan, save me! Qi Yunhong's entire body was bathed in blood. He looked extremely miserable. The flesh under his clothes was charred black and emitted smoke. It was as if he had suffered the backlash of lightning. His bare arms looked as if they had been whipped by thorns, and they were covered in hideous bloody scars. In Yu Yuan's perception, his soul was abnormally weak and seemed to have been severely injured. Behind him, Skysource Sage of the Spirit Void sect had already grasped the illusion pearl. He stepped on the five-clawed golden dragon formed by the dark gold and chased after Qi Yunhong with a cold expression. "Mind your own business," Skysource Sage said indifferently. "Old dog, you already said that you only want the illusion pearl. I've already given you the pearl. Why are you still staring at it?" Qi Yunhong cursed. Skysource Sage was indifferent. "Save me." Qi Yunhong rushed towards the fiendish demon cauldron for the third time. At this time, Yu Yuan took a deep breath. When Qi Yunhong approached, he suddenly grasped the scabbard tightly and used the star-shattering slash to meet his attack. A speck of bright starlight, like the brightest star in the pitch-black night sky. It flickered 3 times and suddenly exploded. The light from the star-shattering slash was like a dazzling galaxy that enveloped Qi Yunhong. Puff, 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 puff. Qi Yunhong's figure shattered bit by bit in the depths of the galaxy. Like a broken glass, he turned into debris. Skysource Sage frowned slightly and stared at the exploding star with a heavy expression. Then he suddenly turned around and left without saying a word. What's this? After the star shattered, scraps of paper swirled in the air. Qin Yun rubbed his forehead in confusion. Qi Yunhong was a sun spirit cultivator. When he was in the range of the star-shattering slash, the sound of the explosion was very obvious. It was like pieces of crystal shattering and then turning into debris. How did it turn into scraps of paper all over the sky? At this time, Yu Yuan stood in the fiendish demon cauldron and tried to communicate with the soul-transforming pool in the forbidden area of the fallen moon Forbidden Land. He also tried to communicate with the 4 ancient black words, "Extreme wisdom will be hurt deep underground." There was no response at all. Yu Yuan's eyes dimmed for a moment and then suddenly brightened as if he had figured something out. The path we took to the 7 divine sects was fixed. Since we told them where we were going from the beginning, we were ambushed and ended up in another heaven and earth. Yu Yuan snorted. This heaven and earth is built exactly the same as the outside world. You didn't notice anything unusual. Qin Yun was shocked. We ended up in another heaven and earth without knowing it? Yeah, I had a similar feeling when I was taken away by the Pearl of Illusory Realm in Qingluan City. Yu Yuan had a rough idea of what kind of situation they were in. We've been in the Scarlet Sun Empire this whole time, so there's no way my psychic connection with the forbidden area of the fallen moon Forbidden Land has been severed. If we really run into danger, I can communicate with the forbidden area of the fallen moon Forbidden Land and let Mr. Yen know. Mr. Yen, who is well versed in spatial power, can appear in front of me in a breath's time. Plus, he can take powerful experts from the forbidden area of the fallen moon Forbidden Land and even major cultivators from the Shunhun sect with him. In this way, no matter who is hiding in the Scarlet Sun Empire, nothing will happen to me. Yu Yuan explained his speculation. Unless you've been taken to another heaven and earth, and you can't communicate with the forbidden area of the fallen moon Forbidden Land? Qin Yun wasn't stupid. He immediately figured it out. If you were in another heaven and earth, you would have disappeared from the Scarlet Sun Empire. Under such circumstances, no one would know where you went. Whether you're dead or alive, there's no way to know. Yu Yuan nodded. That's right. Who could it be? Qin Yun asked in astonishment. The three scenes we saw earlier must have happened before. Yu Yuan pondered for a few seconds before saying, "It's true that Qi Yunhong was pursued by Reverend Skysoarer. It's just that it happened not long ago, not now. It's also true that the Pearl of Illusory Realm fell into Reverend Skysoarer's hands." Yu Yuan rubbed his chin. "If that's the case, then the Pearl of Illusory Realm and the illusory spirit umbrella of the Vain Spirit sect must have merged into one. The two precious treasures of the illusory spirit sect merged into one and created this strange heaven and earth. Chu Jing of the Vain Spirit sect." Chapter 873. In the sky above the territory of the 7 divine sections, under the bright moonlight, the falling star eyes that looked like a giant silver battleship had beautiful curves and released a gentle and cold light. A figure above looked down like a moon goddess. Beside the falling star eyes, a smaller palace made of many beautiful jades floated quietly. Old Qian Tong, who was dressed like an old official, waved his fat hand full of rings and pointed at Yang Chu He and a few cultivators of the 7 divine sections. He shouted, "Where are they?" "I don't know." Yang Chu He shook his head. The rogue cultivator Old Qian was at the late stage of the Soul Wander realm. The jade tower in the sky gathered the aura of several ancient dynasties, making him feel suppressed. Old Qian Tong's realm was slightly higher than his, so he wasn't afraid of him in the Red Sun Empire. But Yang Chu He glanced at the meteor fall star eyes with reverence as he felt a bit of bitterness in his heart. Wasn't the Star Moon sect one of the 7 inferior sects? As the next sect leader of the Star Luna sect, how could you mix with a rogue cultivator like Old Qian? What does that Yu Yuan have to do with you? Yang Chu He thought to himself and glanced at the first prince Lu Su with confusion in his eyes. Lu Su stood out and didn't look at Old Qian Tong. Instead, he raised his head and shouted with a longing expression, "Yu Yuan and Qin Yun had a fight with my master when they passed by the Nimmo River half a month ago. After that, they didn't show up again and seemed to have disappeared into thin air. If you don't believe me, you can search for them in the Red Sun Empire." Hearing this, many cultivators of the 7 divine sects couldn't help but cover their heads with their hands. They thought, "Your Highness, even if you want to please Lu Ying and the Star Moon sect, you don't have to be so generous and let them search in the Empire. Did you forget that you have the support of the Primal Yang sect? I've searched for them a long time ago, but I couldn't find them, so I came to ask you." Lu Ying's worried but pleasant voice came from the brilliant, falling star eyes in midair. "Forget it, I'll look again." "Miss Lu, do as you please." Lu Su laughed foolishly. "If you're tired, you can rest in any city you want." Lu Ying no longer responded. Instead, she controlled the meteor star eyes and flew high into the sky. At almost the same time, Yan Qiling was standing under the two-faced evil divinity statue in the forbidden land of the fallen moons. Through secret magics, he was able to see everything that was happening in the 7 divine sections. With the help of her meteor star eyes, Lu Ying was able to fix her gaze on the forbidden land of the falling moon. At the same time, the evil deity statue could also use the falling star eyes to see what was going on around Lu Ying. He disappeared mysteriously for half a month. Lu Ying used the meteor eyes to search the entire Crimson Sun Empire, but she couldn't find any clues. Yan Qiling rubbed his chin with a heavy heart. In another month, the unprecedented grand event that involves the entire universe will begin. But the kid, the key figure, has suddenly disappeared through some secret channels. He also shifted his attention to the Scarlet Sun Empire. The information he and Zhou Yu had received from a few spies in the Scarlet Sun Empire was the same as Lu Ying's. Yu Yuan and Qin Yun had mysteriously disappeared without a trace. "I'd better report it to them." As Yan Qiling focused his attention, wisps of soul awareness flew out of the spot between his eyebrows and formed a small, greenish-black flower that flew towards the benevolent side of the evil divinity statue. The greenish-black flower blossomed in a devilish manner on the benevolent side of the statue. A wisp of soul awareness broke through the barrier of the starry river and shot straight into the starry river. After a long time, the greenish-black flower opened its mouth and said, "Got it. Don't worry about him." As soon as the voice echoed out, flames of the same color burst forth from the devilish, greenish-black flower. With these words, the flower burned to ashes, leaving no trace behind. Yan Qiling let out a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to find a few guests from the other realms to finalize some details, a hidden meridian in his left temple suddenly started throbbing. Jin Ruru is awake. He instantly realized that Yu Yuan's mother had completed the fusion of her soul and body in the heavenly medicine sect. Under the black night sky, Yu Yuan held the scabbard as if he was holding a real spirit sword. With a cold and sharp gaze, he looked into the empty distance. "Chu Jing, is that you?" "Chu Jing." Qin Yun's expression suddenly changed. Chu Jing of the Spirit Void sect was definitely going to be the next sect master. When he heard the news in Spider City last time, he was deeply shocked because Chu Jing had already reached the late stage of the Yin Spirit realm. Not long ago, Chu Jing seemed to be only at the early stage of the Yin Spirit realm in Azure Phoenix City. At that time, Qin Yun was shocked by the speed of Chu Jing's breakthrough. The spatial teleportation formation in Spider City was built by the Spirit Void sect. Spiritual Master Skysoar had been in charge of it for a long time. Many cultivators of the Spirit Void sect would come and go, so a lot of information about the Spirit Void sect would be leaked. Because of this, Qin Yun knew that Chu Jing and Yu Yuan had fought. It seemed that Chu Jing's illusory spirit umbrella was still damaged. What was going on now? Could it be that this strange little world was really created by Chu Jing? The Qi Yunhong we saw 3 times might have met with an accident. After his illusory spirit pearl fell into Chu Jing's hands and combined with the illusory spirit umbrella, it allowed Chu Jing's realm and strength to have a breakthrough. Yu Yuan's thoughts were clear as he explained his guess. Of course, Chu Jing alone could not have taken the illusory spirit umbrella from Qi Yunhong. The spiritual master Skysoar we saw was Chu Jing's helper. There were even other spiritual masters who cooperated with the spiritual master Skysoar to put pressure on Qi Yunhong. After talking to himself for a while, Yu Yuan shouted, "Don't be sneaky. Since the Spirit Void sect has made a move and brought me in, don't continue to hide." There was silence between heaven and earth, and no one responded. At this time, Qin Yun finally realized that something was wrong. This world was the same as the one he was familiar with. Although the Red Sun Empire was hot all year round, it was not dead silent. In the middle of the night, there should be the sound of insects and mosquitoes flying around. But now, within a radius of dozens of miles, he could not sense any signs of life at all. Chi. In the dark night sky, streaks of crimson lightning suddenly appeared, causing the world to gradually change into a strange dark red world. The crimson lightning represented an aura that could extinguish souls. Streaks of lightning slowly fell from the sky. Blazing soul lightning. Yu Yuan frowned and immediately recognized that the lightning in the sky belonged to Qi Yunhong, who had been expelled by the Thunder sect. He knew from Xiebin that a portion of the Thunder sect's cultivators had refined this blazing soul lightning from a strange lightning pool in the galaxy. They had already parted ways with the Thunder sect and established their own sect. Yan Qiling had vaguely mentioned that the people the Thunder sect viewed as sinners and desperately wanted to get rid of had dealings with the Shunhun sect. Qi Yunhong had received the favor of those people and had shown the blazing soul lightning back outside Azure Luan City. Qi Yunhong's blazing soul lightning had been stripped away by Enziching and fused with the frost lightning seal, significantly increasing its strength. At this moment, many more blazing soul lightning had appeared. This meant that the Thunder Sect experts in the Outer Realm had given the blazing soul lightning to Qi Yunhong again. Unfortunately, Qi Yunhong had failed to protect the blazing soul lightning and had been harmed instead. The densely packed, blazing soul lightning fell to the same height as the fiendish demon cauldron. One could vaguely make out a resplendent humanoid figure that resembled a crystal. The blazing soul lightning covered his body, but his aura was extremely weak. It was as though he found it difficult to even move a finger. Yu Yuan Qi Yunhong, who was bound by his blazing soul lightning, no longer had a crazed look on his face. It was as though he had been tortured to the point where he only wanted to die. "Why are you here?" He is the person you spoke of?" Qin Yun exclaimed. "It's him." Yu Yuan nodded. "This time, he is different from the previous 3 times. He seems real. Furthermore, he has a newly condensed yang soul body." "Qi Yunhong, how did you end up in such a state?" Yu Yuan shouted. "Spirit Void Sect." Qi Yunhong grinned with a pained expression. "When I was condensing my yang soul, I was ambushed by the Spirit Void Sect. Chu Jing, perfected Skysoar and perfected Tianjing attacked the moment my yang soul was condensed. Yes, that was when I was at my weakest. I was no match for them and ended up in this state. The illusory pearl was also stolen." Qi Yunhong, who was bound by the blazing soul lightning, flew towards the fiendish demon cauldron. This was the 4th time. Chapter 874. The intelligence in Qi Yunhong's eyes gradually distorted, as if it was being forcefully replaced by another consciousness. "What should we do?" The voice of the old scholar trembled slightly, clearly nervous. Qi Yunhong wasn't someone Yang Chuha could compare to. He was a true sun spirit. No matter how weak he was still far stronger than Yang Chuha, who was only at the middle stage of the soul-traversing realm. Furthermore, Qi Yunhong was a true lightning sect cultivator. Whether it was spirit arts or secret treasures, he was superior. He can't keep his mind clear anymore. Yu Yuan slightly adjusted his state of mind and secretly communicated with the cauldron's soul. He also released a wisp of spirit energy into the scabbard to activate the sword intent hidden inside. "Also, I don't have any relationship with him." After saying this, Yu Yuan's heart was as firm as iron. He was prepared to kill Qi Yunhong when he got close. Crack! 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 Qi Yunhong's body that was as bright as crystal suddenly split open, as if he was a piece of jade that had been cut apart by numerous blazing soul lightning bolts. What was even more horrifying was that numerous crimson-red bolts of blazing soul lightning transformed into numerous crimson-red strange snakes that swiftly swallowed Qi Yunhong's shattered body. A moment later, Qi Yunhong was swallowed. The burning soul annihilation lightning, on the other hand, turned into crimson electric snakes that were mixed with lightning, light, and crystals. They were long and wide, and their bloodthirsty eyes were wide open as they whipped the evil demon cauldron with their bodies. Crack! Crack! The fiendish demon cauldron sputtered and shook violently in the air. With a cold expression, Yu Yuan looked at the thick and long crimson lightning snakes and smelled Qi Yunhong's aura. He thought for a moment and knew that the illusory realm pearl was obtained by Chu Jing. Because the illusory realm pearl was connected to Qi Yunhong's soul, Chu Jing used some secret technique to distort and occupy Qi Yunhong. Chu Jing wasn't a disciple of the lightning sect and didn't know the secret techniques of the lightning sect. It was extremely difficult for him to completely control the strange blazing soul lightning. It was through the Pearl of Illusion and Qi Yunhong that he was able to obtain control of the blazing soul python lightning. He allowed the blazing soul python lightning to devour Qi Yunhong's yang god energy body and grow stronger. This type of superpower is the nemesis of fiends. Yui's soul will came from the small heaven and earth within the cauldron. Even I, in my soul form, would find it difficult to resist once I leave the cauldron. Among the remaining fiendish demons, only Consort Han could fight against this demon. That's because Consort Han has a physical body, thanks to Master's Frost soul-freezing crystal tombstone. Send Consort Han out, Yu Yuan yelled. Whoosh! A translucent, ice-blue figure suddenly rose from the mouth of the cauldron. Then, it instantly grabbed a crimson electric snake and tore it apart amidst the bursts of electric light and icy light. Achoo! Inside the cauldron, Qin Yun rubbed his nose. He suddenly felt as if he was standing naked in a world of ice and snow. He sneezed violently and his body was shivering. Qin Yun, who cultivated a fire spirit art, did not focus on cleansing his body with flame energy. Therefore, the extreme cold released by Consort Han became increasingly unbearable due to the fact that their attributes countered each other. He hurriedly circulated the blue sun art, which he had painstakingly cultivated, and circulated his burning spirit energy through his veins. Only then was he able to resist the cold. Master! Just as he was about to warn Yu Yuan, he focused his attention and found that there was nothing unusual about him. Thus, he looked up at the sky in shock. At this moment, Consort Han's body was like an iceberg carved out of cold blue crystal. She was actually dozens of meters tall. The curves of her upper body were beautiful, and the key parts of her breasts were covered in complicated patterns of crystal scales. She exuded an aloof and cold beauty. Her lower body was in the form of a scorpion. Its long scorpion tail was covered in sharp spikes. The demonic scorpion tail swept in a circle, and a crimson electric snake that was a mixture of lightning, light, and crystals was pierced full of holes by the spikes of the scorpion tail. The crimson electric snakes that had been besieging the fiendish demon cauldron earlier were now slithering through the air and attacking Consort Han. When the dozens of meters tall Consort Han swung her slender, jade-like arms, they brought with them raging winds of extreme cold. They ignited icy blue flames that could freeze and shatter souls, and actually injured the crimson electric snake. Qi Yunhong's twisted and deranged soul shadow would occasionally appear on the forehead of the crimson electric snake. The soul shadow seemed to be roaring savagely and struggling, but it was powerless. Consort Han ignored it. She was like a god of ice that had been meticulously created by the Creator. A magnetic field of absolute cold surrounded her, as if it was a unique domain of the gods. Wisps of icy light seemed to be the manifestation of the laws of ice. How was this a fiendish devil? She was practically a goddess of ice. Qin Yun, who was looking at Consort Han, had a strange expression. He could not associate Consort Han with those sinister, dark, and irrational fiendish devils that forever released evil thoughts. This was because Consort Han, who was fighting the crimson electric snakes, was emitting a dignified, sacred, and inviolable icy aura. She was too similar to the gods that the alien races in the outer and outer regions believed in. When fiends and gods reach the extreme, they are interconnected. A soul thought from the cauldron soul, Yui, resounded in Yu Yuan's mind. It caused Yu Yuan, who had been shocked by Consort Han just like Qin Yun, to suddenly wake up from his daze. When fiends and gods reach the extreme, they are interconnected. The highest level of heavenly fiends were fiend gods and great fiend gods. As if he suddenly understood something, Yu Yuan's expression became somewhat excited. As he looked at Consort Han, he conversed with Yui. Is it possible for Consort Han to truly become a god? Like a skeleton? It's extremely difficult. Yui sighed softly. A rank 10 fiendish devil is comparable to a Freedom Realm cultivator. At most, it's on par with the fiend gods of the heavenly fiends. All the memories I've recovered tell me that the ultimate level of a fiendish devil is rank 10. This is beyond my expectations. Chu Jing, who had a pair of slender eyes that were always half asleep and half awake, quietly revealed himself while holding a large black umbrella. He wore an Emerald Universe ring and wore a long black robe without any special insignia. A fiendish devil whose battle prowess is comparable to a young god expert. Chu Jing looked curiously at the battle between Consort Han and the Crimson Electric Snakes, but he was talking to Yu Yuan. The first prince of the Crimson Sun Empire, Lu Su, asked for help from the Primal Yang sect. I happened to be nearby, so I set up a trap and brought you into this small world. With these words, he reluctantly withdrew his gaze from Consort Han. Then, he looked at Yu Yuan. I carefully constructed 3 illusions and had Qi Yunhong approach you 3 times. I was surprised that you saw through them all. I believe that you didn't know that you were no longer in the real world during the first 2 times, right? That's right. Yu Yuan didn't deny it. Why are you so guarded? Chu Jing was very interested in the conversation. I should know that the group behind Qi Yunhong, the rebels of the Thunder Element sect in outer space, has close ties with the Shunhun sect. It's an instinctive precaution. Qi Yunhong is a young god. If he enters the fiendish demon cauldron, he has the potential to kill me instantly. Yu Yuan spoke his true thoughts without mincing words. I won't allow such a possibility to exist. After all, no matter who he's connected to, he hasn't won my trust. Chu Jing sighed. No wonder Chao Jiazi said that you were extremely difficult to deal with after returning from the Land of Terror. Haven't you seen how difficult I am to deal with? Yu Yuan grinned and looked at the big black umbrella. What? Have you forgotten the pain after the scar healed? Thanks to you, when Qi Yunhong used the illusory realm pearl to get you out of Azure Phoenix City, my illusory spirit umbrella sensed it, and then we targeted him. Chu Jing wasn't angry. Because of this, I refined the illusory realm pearl. Not only did it restore the illusory spirit umbrella, but my cultivation base also improved greatly. Congratulations! Yu Yuan clasped his hands together with a fake smile. I came in a hurry, so it's just me now. Chu Jing smiled. However, before I lured you into the illusory realm pearl, I already sent a message. I don't think I'll have to wait too long before Marshal Uncle Chongshao arrives. Before that, you can either kill me, or break this small world created by the illusory realm pearl and the illusory spirit umbrella. Otherwise, when Marshal Uncle Chongshao arrives, you can only die. Chapter 875. Chu Jing told Yu Yuan about his current situation, as if they were just chatting. Then, his gaze landed on the icy and dignified figure that resembled an ice goddess. He watched as Consort Han tore apart the crimson lightning snakes one after another, exuding an extremely cold aura and creating icy blue flames. Consort Han's unique aura, which was both cold and devilish, dazzled this young expert from the Spirit Void sect. He nodded slightly and muttered to himself, no wonder. Few people knew that he and Mo Yen from the Devil's Palace were actually close friends. The two of them had joined hands in several trials in the early years, and formed a deep friendship between life and death situations. This had also led to the destruction of his phantom spirit umbrella in his first battle with Yu Yuan. Mo Yen had almost been teleported to the forbidden land of the fallen moons by Yu Yuan through the spatial tunnel in the Land of Terror, but had been rescued by his biological father, Zhu Zhenying. Mo Yen, who had been seriously injured, had sent a message to Chu Jing through a secret method while licking his wounds and recuperating in the Devil's Palace. He had told him that there was a sparkling and translucent fiend devil in Yu Yuan's fiend demon cauldron, and how beautiful she was. Chu Jing found the adoration in his message unreasonable. At this moment, he finally understood a little about Mo Yan's perverted and twisted mind. If you have a chance to meet Yu Yuan, you'd rather the fiend demon cauldron explode than kill that fiend devil. This was the thought that Mo Yan had in mind. Chu Jing had received a message and request from the Primal Yang sect, and agreed to help Mo Yen by capturing Consort Han and finding an opportunity to give her to Mo Yen. That fiend devil is even more powerful than Qi Yunhong, and I have to make sure she doesn't die. I can only wait. Chu Jing felt a headache coming on. Fortunately, I have a lot of time to wait. As long as Martial Uncle Chongshao comes, with his late sun god cultivation base, he can stabilize any situation in my small heaven and earth. Thinking of this, Chu Jing, who was holding the big black umbrella, suddenly disappeared like a reflection in the water being hit by a falling stone. In midair, the crimson electric snakes that were mixed with lightning, light, and crystals no longer attacked Consort Han desperately. As if they had received an order, they quietly retreated. "Save me!" Qi Yunhong's soul wailed from the forehead of the retreating lightning serpent, as if he had suddenly regained his consciousness. Yu Yuan was expressionless. In the blink of an eye, this strange little world created by the illusory pearl regained its tranquility. That Chu Jing is hiding. If we want to kill him, we have to force him out first. If he doesn't show himself in the secret realm he controls, it'll be difficult to find him. Qin Yun sighed. To shatter such a space that was jointly set up by the illusory pearl and the illusory spirit umbrella is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Perfected Skysore presided over Spider City all year round, so Qin Yun had heard of his name. He knew that if what Chu Jing said was true, and he had already released the news, when Perfected Skysore arrived in this little world, it would be the time of his and Yu Yuan's deaths. If they died here without leaving a trace, no one in the outside world would know. This way, even Mr. Yen and the Shunhun sect behind him would have no reason to take revenge, since they did not have any concrete evidence, and did not know what had happened. "Don't leave the cauldron!" Yui's delicate shout suddenly sounded in Yu Yuan's sea of consciousness. Yu Yuan, who was about to leave the cauldron and carefully investigate this strange land, was startled and immediately stopped. "Is there danger?" The aura of the lightning serpent formed after the blazing soul python lightning devoured Qi Yunhong is still nearby. Yu Yi controlled the cauldron and slowly spun it. Once you leave the cauldron and expose yourself to the outside world, it'll be very easy for your soul and sea of consciousness to be torn apart by the blazing soul python lightning. When she said that, Yu Yuan shuddered. You heard what Chu Jing said. Think about how to break out of this passive situation. He shared the problem with the cauldron soul. Then, he quickly adjusted himself and calmed down. Either I kill Chu Jing, or I break out of this little world. Chu Jing had taken the initiative to suggest 2 ways to break out of this predicament. Yu Yuan pondered for a moment and shouted coldly. He muttered to himself, Chu Jing gave me 2 ways to think of a solution. It's definitely a dead end. No matter which way I choose, there should be no hope. However, if you look at it normally, you only have these 2 ways to break out of this little world that someone set up by mistake, Qin Yun replied with a frown when he heard Qin Yun's mutterings. If the thousands of fiendish demons in my cauldron were to come out and form a formation, there would be hope of breaking out of this little world. Yu Yuan's expression was dark. However, there are many other blazing soul python lightning here that can be used. The blazing soul python lightning is the bane of soul spirit. Those weak fiendish demons will all turn to dust before they can form a formation. It wasn't easy to collect fiendish demons, and they would be of great use in the future. He didn't want to make unnecessary sacrifices. He had communicated with Yu Yi before. He knew that other than Consort Han, who had refined a physical body, even Blood Moon and the Black Woman wouldn't have a good ending if they came into contact with the blazing soul python lightning. As for Blood Moon and the Black Woman, they would be able to refine a physical body like Consort Han in the future. With a physical body, they would have antibodies. They wouldn't have to face thunder and lightning directly with their souls. As he pondered, he controlled the fiendish demon cauldron to roar through this little world. Consort Han also returned to the little world inside the cauldron. This little world can constantly change and expand with you. We will never be able to find the end of it. Soon, Qin Yun was the first to come to a realization. Without a special method, it will be extremely difficult to break open the sky. Even if you control the scabbard and swing your sword, if the sky continues to extend upwards, your sword beam will never reach the end. Similarly, if your sword beam enters the ground, it will never break open. Qin Yun rolled up his sleeves. A transparent red ball condensed from spirit energy floated in his palm. A small speck of light appeared inside the ball. The speck of light at the center of the ball transformed into Yu Yuan's form and swung his sword towards the sky. When the speck of light and the sword beam moved upwards, the ball would also float upward. This made it so that the speck of light and the sword beam would never be able to touch the upper layer of the ball. I understand now. Yu Yuan nodded. He completely dispelled the idea of using brute force to break through this little world. I have to think of a way to deal with the burning soul flame lightning. Without the bane of the fiendish devils, I can release all the fiendish devils in the cauldron and possibly break open this little world. He rubbed his chin and sent a wisp of his soul consciousness into the universe ring. He saw some spirit stones, a pill furnace for refining medicine, the Big Dipper shield, and the strange palm-sized puppet with a blurry face. The Big Dipper shield is a purely defensive artifact. Although its grade is high, it hasn't been refined yet. Even if the Big Dipper shield is refined, it won't be able to shatter space in the world created by the illusory realm pearl and the illusory spirit umbrella. The sharp sword beam drawn by the scabbard won't be able to reach the end of the barrier. After a while, his gaze landed on the infamous soul wood spirit puppet that had brought infamy to the heavenly evil sect. The palm-sized soul wood spirit puppet with a blurry face didn't have any obvious male or female characteristic. Let's give it a try. With a thought, the soul wood spiritual doll flew out of the universe ring and was held by one of his hands. Only its head was exposed. As wisps of his soul consciousness seeped into the soul wood spirit puppet, illusory scenes of corpses and countless evil spirits suddenly appeared in the depths of his mind. His soul remembrance seemed to be traversing through different scenes of bloody slaughter. Great Een soul art. Inside the small world in his sea of consciousness, his Een soul operated on its own. The secret arts he had inherited from the Shunhun sect caused countless bizarre and bloody scenes to shatter like mirrors falling to the ground. At the same time, the Een soul he had condensed with the great Een soul art easily left his body and entered the puppet in his hand. The moment his Een soul entered the puppet, Qin Yun, who was watching from the side, suddenly paled. Qin Yun was shocked to find that the originally blurry face of the puppet in Yu Yuan's hand had become fine and deep in just a few seconds. Yu Yuan. The puppet's face turned into Yu Yuan's face. Yu Yuan was holding another Yu Yuan in her hand, which was one size smaller. The smaller Yu Yuan made of wood was full of strangeness. It was like an ancient evil god that had quietly awakened from a long slumber and was about to bring disaster to the world. Master. Qin Yun stammered and called out cautiously in a low voice, "Are you still there? Are you still you?" "Don't worry. It's me. Of course it's me." The one who spoke was the pocket-sized Yu Yuan in the form of a puppet. When it spoke, the real Yu Yuan closed its eyes and sat down in the cauldron, as if it had entered a deep sleep. Qin Yun was scared and instinctively stepped back to keep a distance from the current Yu Yuan. Even the azure sun arrow in his hand was pointed at the Yu Yuan in the form of a puppet from afar. "Who the hell are you? I told you that I'm still Yu Yuan. Don't make a fuss," the puppet said with a wooden expression. Chapter 876. Deep within the soul wood spiritual doll's head. Yu Yuan's Een spirit entered another wooden doll and found himself in a mysterious space. He sat at the head of a long table. The puppet's palms were placed flat on the table. The table wasn't a physical object. It seemed to be an obscure soul sea. The puppet he represented touched the table with its palms. His soul consciousness spread out and gradually spread along the table to both sides. On both sides of the table, there were 6 slightly shorter wooden dolls. Their faces were blurry. Only he, who sat at the head of the table, revealed his true appearance in this mysterious space, because his own spirit had entered. On the table, which was like a strange soul sea, his wisps of soul consciousness rippled like water. He could sense many thoughts and memories, which swarmed over like fireflies. The soul wood spiritual doll has a total of 7 seats. The head is the controller. On both sides of the table there are 6 other spirit dolls. They will be the soul vessels that are imprisoned. A cultivator's 3 souls, heaven, earth, and human, or their transformed own spirit, as long as one is pulled in and poured into a spirit doll, they will gain control of the other parts. The main body, the yang spirit, and the imprinted artifact. After a while, Yu Yuan comprehended how to use the soul wood spiritual puppet. The method and secret technique were recorded on the table. What an evil artifact! Muttering to himself, Yu Yuan's mind switched. He found that he seemed to have a wooden body. Looking down, he was surprised to see that the spirit doll held by his other self had revealed a hand. The thumb of that hand was actually his own face. In addition, there were 6 other fingers on the same hand. The 6 fingers were like masks, but they were blurry. Yu Yuan was stunned for a moment. Then, he realized that the 7 fingers of the soul wood spiritual doll's hand corresponded to the 7 puppets in the mysterious space. The thumb was the main position. As the controller, he was the thumb. Because the other 6 fingers didn't have souls in them, their faces were blurry and couldn't be revealed. He pondered for a moment and coughed. Qin Yun, release your own spirit and enter the soul wood spiritual doll. I want to do an experiment. Hey, why are you hiding? What do you fear? Qin Yun, who was in the form of an old Confucian scholar, stared at him with an expression of extreme evil as he retreated step by step. From Qin Yun's posture, it seemed that if he was given a little more pressure, he would escape the fiendish demon cauldron and run amok in this small world created by the illusory pearl and the illusory spirit umbrella. I'm still Yu Yuan, he explained. Stop! Qin Yun shouted as he leaned his back against the wall of the cauldron. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. Yu Yuan's main body sat there quietly with his eyes closed, as if he were sleeping. In his hand there was a small puppet that had Yu Yuan's face. It was struggling with all its might, and an arm extended out of Yu Yuan's palm, revealing 7 fingers. The thumb was even Yu Yuan's face. 3 Yu Yuan's faces appeared at the same time. The real Yu Yuan was sleeping, and the small puppet Yu Yuan was shouting and waving. The thumb was also Yu Yuan's. This strange scene made Qin Yun's hair stand on end. The soul wood spiritual doll is the legendary evil treasure of the heavenly evil sect. Master might have been possessed by an evil being. On the way here, Yu Yuan had told him what he had dug out from the depths of the Yu family. Qin Yun knew that the Big Dipper shield and the soul wood spiritual doll were in Yu Yuan's hands. He wants to devour my own spirit and make me enter the puppet. Qin Yun's mind trembled. Master's consciousness is still there. At this moment, Qin Yunling heard a cold voice. The voice came from the cauldron wall behind him. My name is Yui, the soul of this cauldron. You don't need to be afraid. This evil treasure of the heavenly evil sect has this kind of characteristic. Master's face appeared on the soul wood spiritual doll's body, and its thumb is the same. This is conclusive proof. Proof of what? Qin Yun exclaimed. Proof that Master is the true controller of the soul wood spiritual doll. Yu Yuan's cold voice contained an aura that calmed the soul. It made Qin Yun, who was about to go insane, gradually calm down. Master, this is just a small experiment. You don't need to be afraid. But I'm really scared. You are the soul of the cauldron. Can you release a fiend demon and let him test it? Qin Yun carefully replied to Yue with a pleading and fawning tone. Fiend demons can't do it. Only human cultivators can, Yue said. Yu Yuan clearly heard the conversation between her and Qin Yun. This caused Yu Yuan to be somewhat surprised. Looking at Qin Yun's extremely terrified expression, Yu Yuan actually felt like laughing. He pulled the corner of his mouth. The soul wood spiritual doll cooperated and cracked a strange and terrifying smile. Whoosh! Qin Yun ignored Yui's persuasion and was frightened by the little puppet's smile. He immediately escaped from the large cauldron and shouted. He was invaded by an evil spirit. As the soul of the cauldron, you should have been bewitched by him. No matter what Yue said, Qin Yun did not believe her. Yu Yuan, who was possessing the soul wood spiritual doll, felt a bit embarrassed. He thought for a moment and tried to see if he could move it. Crack, crack. Strange sounds came from the joints of the other hand as it struggled free from the palm. This puppet only had 3 fingers, and they were as sharp as knives. Strange. When the Yin spirit entered, the cauldron and main soul of the true body actually fell into a short slumber. Yu Yuan muttered. Then he was surprised to find that his soul thought had unknowingly penetrated every inch of the table and moved around the wooden bodies of the other 6 spiritual dolls. A portion of his soul thought flowed back and formed a picture in the main puppet's body. Picture? Does that mean that my Yin spirit can leave after I have a recording? Then, using the inscription of the Yin spirit, he continued to control this wooden puppet and the spirit that was imprisoned here? He had a realization in his heart. Great ghost art! Inside the soul wood spirit doll, Nye Tian's nether spirit attempted to cast the kind of secret magic that could pull and devour heavenly devils and lure them into his small heaven and earth. Miraculously, he suddenly sensed that there were many strands of soul fragments in this strange world. The soul fragments were scattered in the distance, and each of them had Qi Yunhong's aura. Qi Yunhong's Yin spirit was killed by Chu Jing and the spiritual master of the Spirit Void sect. Because he died inside the illusory realm pearl, the remaining Yin spirit fragments did not completely dissipate. If it was in the outside world, his Yin spirit would have returned to heaven and earth and merged with the source of the Yin veins in the land of terror. With this thought, he immediately found that the remnant thoughts of Qi Yunhong's Yin spirit were attracted by the great ghost art and actually escaped into the soul wood spiritual doll. One wisp, another wisp, dozens of wisps. The wisps of soul fragments were like pieces of Qi Yunhong's Yin spirit after it was dismembered. They were pulled by the great ghost art and reunited inside the soul wood spiritual doll. They reunited on one of the spirit dolls on the 2 sides of the table in the strange space in the soul wood spiritual doll's brain. The spirit doll's blurry face was gradually carved, revealing Qi Yunhong's face. Correspondingly, there was another finger on the 7-fingered palm of the soul wood spiritual doll. The fingertip also turned into Qi Yunhong's face. Whoosh whoosh. At this time, Yu Yuan's Yin spirit, who was in the main position, pressed the palm of his hand on the table. His soul consciousness was like an invisible light that instantly invaded the puppet that gathered Qi Yunhong's Yin spirit. The soul consciousness that originated from Yu Yuan was like a tight net that tightly wrapped around the spirit doll that carried Qi Yunhong. Suddenly, hundreds of thousands of tiny light spots were touched by Yu Yuan's soul consciousness. Every light spot was branded with Qi Yunhong's memory. What a wondrous understanding! Yu Yuan muttered. Whoosh! Streaks of crimson lightning snakes that had been hiding in the dark once again appeared in a dense cluster. Qi Yunhong's twisted, crazy, and painful soul shadow could be seen on the foreheads of the lightning snakes. What was strange was that this time, Qi Yunhong's crazed expression on the lightning snake's foreheads slowly stopped, as if he could no longer feel the torturous pain that made him want to die. The dozens of scarlet lightning snakes and Qi Yunhong's soul shadows suddenly let out strange cries. Chi Yunhong's soul shadow flashed out from the lightning snakes' foreheads and formed a secret formation that contained the great Tao of thunder in midair. Crackle! The scattered scarlet lightning snakes gathered together on their own accord. The snakes intertwined with each other, forming a secret formation. It shouldn't be like this. Chu Jing, who was holding the big black umbrella, emerged from the dark once again. His face was filled with astonishment as he looked at the scarlet lightning snakes that were formed by the burning soul flame lightning devouring the fragments of Chi Yunhong's yang spirit. He said without a clue, what kind of external force can restore his intelligence and still have the strength to break free from the shackles? He looked at the soul-wood spiritual doll that had Yu Yuan's face and was very puzzled. The soul-wood spiritual doll had disappeared for hundreds of years and hadn't appeared in the world for far too long. He clearly didn't recognize it. Chapter 877. Where am I? Who am I? I, along with strands of remnant soul and fragmented thoughts reassembling within the soulwood spiritual doll, Chi Yunhong was like a person who was in eternal slumber as he slowly recovered his consciousness. Shouldn't I be dead? After a thought, Chi Yunhong blankly looked to his side. He let out a frightened cry like he was in a dream. His whole body trembled, and he subconsciously wanted to kneel down and worship. What kind of existence was this? An unimaginably huge, illusory soul, like the master of the gods in the legends, like the most ancient god-king, was in an unknown country. His two hands were propped up, like a table where all living beings' nightmares gathered. Compared to the huge, illusory soul, Chi Yunhong only felt that he was as small as an ant. It seemed that just by looking at it, he was offending and disrespecting that person. He couldn't even think of resisting. Almost without any hesitation, he chose to submit. The huge illusory soul, surrounded by endless mysterious light, seemed to be quietly looking at him, examining him. Chi Yunhong's whole body trembled. Every time he trembled, he was surprised to find that his remnant soul had consolidated in the newly formed Yin spirit and had been revived. Scenes, from the original fragmented scenes, were now integrated into one. He recalled that when he had just transformed his heaven soul into the yang spirit, and used his soul and pure spiritual power to forge a yang spirit body, and supplemented it with the blazing soul lightning, to transform it into the yang spirit meridians, Chu Jing, spiritual master Skysoar, and spiritual master Tianjing of the Spirit Void sect had quietly arrived. He, who had just broken through, exploded his Yin spirit in his illusory pearl, and his yang spirit body was counterattacked by blazing soul lightning. Damn bitch, you dare to betray me! You want to merge with the illusory spirit umbrella, and you actually betrayed me to Chu Jing. Chi Yunhong flew into a rage. When he thought of what had happened, he almost went crazy. No, that's not right. Am I not fine? In the next moment, he realized that his destroyed Yin spirit had been restored to its original state. Chi Yunhong opened his mouth, looked at the huge illusory soul, and was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Then, he suddenly felt a surge of divine power entering his Yin spirit. Without any stagnation, he established a spiritual connection with the yang spirit fragment that belonged to him in the outside world. Furthermore, he developed a wondrous comprehension where the Yin spirit was the main and the yang spirit cooperated with him. Thunder movement. The deep-rooted great Tao of thunder was instantly operated by him with his incomplete yang spirit. Inside the small world of the illusion bead, dozens of crimson electric snakes connected from head to tail, forming a huge ring. In the center of the ring, there were countless intertwined lightning bolts, making crackling noises. The Chi Yunhong that appeared on the forehead of every scarlet lightning snake was clear-headed. With a confused, scrutinizing, and cautious expression, they looked at what was happening. Chu Jing, who was holding an umbrella, walked over step by step. Consort Han was just a powerful fiend devil with the icy aura of the nine hells' frigid abyss. However, she shouldn't know the intricacies of the soul. She couldn't possibly have the power to help Qi Yunhong free himself, right? Chu Jing muttered to himself. However, when he thought about how Reverend Skysoar was about to arrive, he relaxed. Yu Yuan also felt that it was strange. Qi Yunhong's fragmented soul and thoughts gathered in the soul wood spirit doll. When Qi Yunhong's consciousness awakened, he also felt it. Then, he discovered that this madman, whom he had met in Qing Luan City before, was looking at him and trembling. It was as if he didn't even dare to look at him directly. What you're looking at is just a puppet that I've entered with my Yin spirit. What are you afraid of? Yu Yuan didn't know that what Qi Yunhong saw inside the soul wood spirit doll was completely different from what he saw himself. However, he could feel that after Qi Yunhong's initial shock and horror, his attitude changed at an astonishing speed. He immediately declared his loyalty and submission to him with an incomparably humble attitude. He didn't need any explanation. He knew that this traitor of the Lightning Sect and the sinner of the Qi family wholeheartedly obeyed him. This should be the evil influence of the soul wood spirit doll. With this thought, he entered the Yin spirit of the soul wood spirit doll and instantly returned to his true body. A shadow of the Yin spirit was formed by the convergence of his soul and a portion of the fragmented light of his memories. It was still inside the spirit doll at the head. Oh! At this time, the trembling Qi Yunhong suddenly felt that the suffocating power that he didn't even dare to look at had already left this space. Qi Yunhong looked again and saw Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan sat at the head of the table with his two hands pressed against it. He was like the projection of the King of Gods in the heavens. He no longer had the terrifying solemnity and dignity that made him tremble uneasily. Qi Yunhong pondered for a moment and came to a realization. He could only assume that Yu Yuan had been possessed by some ancient and unimaginably powerful existence. It was also this person who had helped him come back from the dead and helped him regain his consciousness. He uncomfortably moved his wooden arms and pressed them against his chest. With a humble and sincere attitude, he said softly, "Your loyal subordinate, Qi Yunhong, swears to serve you with loyalty to the death. Your loyal subordinate, Qi Yunhong, swears to serve you with loyalty to the death." The same voice and the same intonation rang out from the foreheads of the scarlet electric snakes and the mouths of the numerous Qi Yunhongs, forming a loud and clear sound wave. At the center of the ring formed by the electric snakes, countless intersecting lightning bolts exploded. Cough! 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 Behind Chu Jing, under the large black umbrella, a pale-faced girl with two ponytails coughed violently with two forceful ponytails. The girl had an illusory and unreal beauty that didn't seem human. That's the soul of the Pearl of Illusion. At this moment, the cauldron's soul Yui's voice quietly rang out. Yu Yuan, who was holding the soul wood spirit doll, had truly awakened when his Yin spirit returned. He stood up straight again and looked at Chu Jing with a bright smile on his face. After the girl, there was another young man with a similar appearance. His face was also pale, and he was also behind Chu Jing. The young man and the girl, one on the left and one on the right, were both soul tools. Without Yui's reminder, he knew that the young man who had suddenly appeared should be the soul of the illusory spirit umbrella. The two items that had both come from the destroyed illusory spirit sect had originally complemented each other and were one. The young man and the girl looked like brother and sister. No matter if it was their appearance or the aura they exuded, they were 70 to 80% similar. ZZZT. ZZZT ZZZT. At this moment, the ring formed by the scarlet electric snakes seemed to be manipulated by Qi Yunhong's will. The different heads and tails miraculously merged together. The girl, who was coughing non-stop, showed signs of pain and struggle in her white pupils. "And Master, he wants to regain control of me," she begged Chu Jing for help. "Bitch. You're my slave to begin with. The numerous Chi Yunhongs on the foreheads of the scarlet electric snakes screamed in a frenzied and ferocious voice. In the depths of the pitch-black sky, a violent storm was brewing. The ground as far as the eye could see was violently shaking up and down like a carpet. In the tight space, streaks of silver lightning would occasionally streak across. Wherever the lightning passed, scarlet blood and flesh could be seen from the cracks that suddenly split open. Why, young master, at this time, the embarrassed Qin Yun once again returned to the fiendish demon cauldron. With a gaze full of fear, he intentionally swept his gaze over the soul wood spirit doll in Yu Yuan's hand. I previously thought that you, young master, had been possessed by that thing. Yu Yuan nodded with a relaxed smile. The power of the soul wood spirit doll was extraordinarily strong and extremely mysterious. With the help of his great Yin soul spell, this item allowed Qi Yunhong's destroyed Yin divinity to reform. Qi Yunhong's Yin divinity seemed to have received the help of the soul wood spirit doll, and began to attempt to seize the illusory pearl again. Chu Jing had given him two options. Either he could break through the illusory sky of the illusory pearl, or he could find Chu Jing and kill him. Obviously, if he listened to Chu Jing's suggestion, he would definitely die. The existence of the soul wood spirit doll allowed him to revive through Qi Yunhong's Yin spirit and allow Qi Yunhong to seize control of the illusory pearl. If the illusory pearl fell into Qi Yunhong's hands again, wouldn't he be able to leave at any time? As long as he could leave this small world, he would be able to communicate with the forbidden land of Fallen Moon, and Yen Qiling would know where he was. What would he be afraid of then? What's outside of the cracks in the lightning is scarlet flesh. Where is this pearl? He asked curiously. Take a guess, Chu Jing said. At this moment, the young man and the young girl's hands were pressed against each other. The power of the illusory spirit umbrella and the young man's soul seemed to have merged into the young girl's body to help her resist Qi Yunhong. It's inside me. The one who answered was Qi Yunhong, who was inside the crimson lightning snake. His face was calm and his eyes were crazed. Hey, bitch, how dare you betray me? Qi Yunhong suddenly laughed sinisterly. You want to stay with that little bastard? I won't let you do as you wish. Yes, with the two of you working together, it will be very difficult for me to control you again. Don't worry, I'd rather destroy what I can't get. Crackle! Crackle! Snakes danced wildly in the pitch-black sky. The flat field shook violently, and ravines could be seen everywhere. Numerous crimson lightning snakes shot into the sky during the fusion process. Then, they broke apart midway and turned into countless fine electric arcs that pierced into the depths of the cracks that occasionally tore open. Chu Jing's expression suddenly changed. Mad dog! What Qi Yunhong was doing now wasn't to take back the ownership of the illusory pearl, nor was it to take back the unique treasure that belonged to him. He was going to destroy it. Chu Jing suddenly realized that he shouldn't have guessed Qi Yunhong's actions as a normal person would. This madman didn't want to take back the illusory pearl and use it to fuse with his illusory spirit umbrella. By fusing the two items into one, he would be able to greatly increase his battle prowess and cultivation base. From the very beginning, that madman had never thought of doing this. Because the illusory pearl's soul had taken the initiative to lean towards him, Qi Yunhong, who had sensed the betrayal, was determined to destroy the illusory pearl. Even if you obediently come back now, I'll still kill you, Qi Yunhong said fiercely. As soon as these words fell, the heaven and earth in this small world collapsed. Countless bright cracks appeared, and outside of the cracks were scarlet flesh and blood. Even if my true body dies and I use my Yin soul to cultivate the ghost Tao, I'll make you die first. Chapter 878. What a crazy guy. Yu Yuan watched with interest as the world collapsed and shattered. Holding the soul wood spiritual doll, He could capture Chi Yunhong's mental process in detail. Chi Yunhong's thoughts and actions were all under his control. Because he was dissatisfied with the betrayal of the soul of the illusory pearl, this deranged abandoned disciple of the Thunder Sect was willing to give up everything, including but not limited to the illusory pearl, his own sun-god fragment, the burning soul lightning, and even his true body. Such a method could only be described as insane. It could be seen that Chu Jing, who thought that he could use the soul of the illusory pearl and the illusory spirit umbrella to create pressure on Chi Yunhong and wait for the right opportunity, was also disrupted by Chi Yunhong's crazy actions. Chu Jing obviously had a headache. "Sister, sister!" The youth under the big black umbrella cried bitterly. He saw that the young girl, who looked 70 to 80% similar to him and was formed by relying on the illusory pearl, had a pale little face that cracked like jade porcelain. First, it was her face, then her body. Gradually, dense cracks appeared. And at the crack, there was a scarlet-red color. Yu Yuan looked up at the sky and saw that in the pitch-black sky, there were long and narrow cracks. What was revealed in the cracks was also scarlet flesh. There were also wriggling tendons and blood vessels. It's actually really in his body. Yu Yuan touched his chin. He knew that because of Chi Yunhong's madness, there was no need to continue his original plan. The illusory pearl was already cracking. Right now, as long as he wanted to, he could leave through any crack and return to the real world in the outside world. Melt her. It's already like this anyway. Chu Jing faintly sighed and regretfully persuaded the soul of the illusory spirit umbrella. Wait until she completely dissipates, then there's no point in merging with her. Sister, sister. The youth whimpered. He and the girl's hands gently pushed forward. His two hands passed through the girl's arms and entered her body. His entire body was like a water spirit that merged with the soul of the illusory pearl. In your dreams. Chi Yunhong's hysterical screams came from the broken crimson lightning snakes as the remaining wisps of soul-blazing lightning suddenly appeared between the girl's eyebrows. The overlapping faces of the young man and young woman were filled with pain. Chu Jing frowned secretly. He suddenly extended a hand and covered the overlapping foreheads of the young man and girl with his palm. Chi! Wisps of soul-burning lightning detonated in his palm and exploded. His hand was blasted into a bloody mess, with bones everywhere. However, Chu Jing's expression was normal. It was as if that hand did not belong to him. Impressive, very impressive. Yu Yuan clapped his hands in admiration and clicked his tongue in wonder. Let's go. In the next instant, he and the fiendish demon cauldron flew out through one of the cracks. The moment he flew out, he saw the cracked illusion pearl inside Chi Yunhong's body, which was densely packed with blood vessels and internal organs. In his miniature form, he grabbed the illusion pearl and flew out in the direction of the esophagus against the stench. In the dark basement, Chi Yunhong, with disheveled hair, was curled up in a corner and coughing up blood. His eyes were cloudy, like a patient who had lost his mind. Yu Yuan held the soul-wood spiritual doll in one hand and the cracked illusion pearl in the other with a playful expression. At the tip of one of the soul-wood spiritual doll's fingers, Chi Yunhong's other face looked at his true body. A crazed and irritable expression appeared on his face. Master, a person who has lost his heaven soul and earth soul and suffered heavy injuries will become like this. One of the puppet's fingers spoke in human language. If my Yin spirit returned, I would be mostly awake. However, because of the cracks in the illusion pearl, my true body was also seriously injured. The puppet's finger was about to continue speaking when a noise suddenly came from outside. The tightly shut stone door was suddenly pushed open. The strong sunlight shone in, making Yu Yuan's eyes uncomfortable. He couldn't adapt for a while. In the dark world of the illusion pearl, he had been imprisoned for so long. The strong light made him uncomfortable. Who are you? You? At the door, a cultivator's face was gloomy. Before he could finish speaking, his expression suddenly changed. Qin Yun. Huang Ming! Qin Yun exclaimed. Why are you here? I'm in the 7 divine sects. Huang Ming and Qin Yun both exclaimed at the same time. Yu Yuan was stunned. He looked at Qi Yunhong, who had almost gone crazy after the Yin spirit exploded and the Yang spirit fragments were swallowed by the burning soul python lightning. He then looked at the cultivator who appeared out of thin air. His mind was in a mess. Why is he here? Qin Yun pointed at Qi Yunhong's true body. Huang Ming was at a loss. I saw that although this madman was crazy, his qi and blood were extraordinary. I brought him back and detained him. I was going to slowly investigate the mysteries of his body. I thought that after we finished this, you and that dark moon cities. Huang Ming finally came to his senses and pointed at Yu Yuan in the evil demon cauldron. You are that Yu Yuan. You and Qin Yun are riding the evil demon cauldron. Boom! The tower of the 7 divine sects suddenly shattered. Many cultivators of the 7 divine sects heard the news and came over. Qin Yun was in a trance for a while. He saw familiar faces looking at the scene after the tower exploded. He had a strange expression and said to Yu Yuan, Young master, this is really the 7 divine sects. Chu Jing had set a trap with the illusion pearl midway. He and Qin Yun had mistakenly entered it and forced the crazy Qi Yunhong to swallow the pearl. The crazy Qi Yunhong had lost himself and wandered in the wilderness between the Nimmo River and the 7 divine sects. He was found by Huang Ming and led into the 7 divine sects. After pondering for a while, Yu Yuan roughly understood what had happened. Crack! Crack! The illusion pearl in his palm was still shattering. He could still see beams of crimson lightning and a black dot the size of a grain of rice. It's almost out. With a thought, Yu Yuan established a connection with the forbidden land of the fallen moons in the territory of the 7 divine sects. He knew that Chu Jing had already sent a message to the empty spirit sect. It wouldn't be long before Reverend Skysore and Reverend Tianjing, who had joined forces to kill Qi Yunhong, appeared. As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, he established a mysterious connection with the soul-transforming pool in the forbidden land of the fallen moons. It was indeed a real world, and the 7 divine sects weren't imprisoned by the strange spell formation. Yu Yuan inwardly rejoiced. However, when he established a psychic connection with the soul-transforming pool, he didn't sense Yen Qiling's existence immediately. With a bang, the illusion pearl in his hand exploded and turned into pearl powder that filled the sky. Chu Jing of the Empty Spirit sect appeared with the illusion spirit umbrella in his hand. The big black umbrella expanded several times and turned upside down, gathering the pearl powder that filled the sky. Chu Jing of the Empty Spirit sect. Huang Ming of the 7 divine sects was shocked when he saw the person who had suddenly emerged from the shattered pearl. Chapter 879. Specks of scarlet red light containing intelligent soul thoughts appeared as the illusory realm pearl exploded. In the ruins of the tower, the muddle-headed Qi Yunhong felt the call and attraction. Then, with a blank expression, he instinctively began to walk back and forth in a small area. That area was the place where the crimson light fell like raindrop. Qi Yunhong's muddy, ignorant, and lusterless eyes were quietly changing as the specks of crimson light entered his body. Qin Yun stood in front of Qi Yunhong, blocking Chu Jing and Huang Ming, secretly vigilant. What a good Qi Yunhong! Yu Yuan secretly used a secret technique to open his wisdom eye. He could clearly see that every speck of crimson light was a miniature version of Qi Yunhong's soul. Thinking about it, he realized that the specks of light that contained intelligence were actually Qi Yunhong's Selim soul. The Selim soul had transformed into a Yang soul, but because of the Yang soul's destruction, it had regressed and manifested. The Yang soul's body was the outer armor of the soul. The core of the main body was the soul that had been tempered by the advancement of the Selim soul. Qi Yunhong didn't hesitate to shatter his soul and let the carefully refined burning soul burning lightning explode along with the fragments of the Yang soul. He wanted to destroy the illusory pearl and scatter its soul. Now it seemed that he had succeeded in realizing his crazy idea. The illusory pearl turned into powder that filled the sky. The Selim soul in the shape of a young girl had most likely also disappeared. However, the essence of Qi Yunhong's Selim soul took the opportunity to splash out and be received by his true body. A single spark could start a prairie fire. The specks of crimson light that contained intelligence were the kindling of the Selim soul. After falling into Qi Yunhong's small world, they could take root and germinate. In time, Qi Yunhong's Selim soul would return to its original appearance, giving him the possibility of condensing the Yang soul again. The Selim soul carried memories. The Selim soul was the crystallization of intelligence. Therefore, as soon as the crimson sparks fell into his sea of awareness like raindrops, the strange man Huang Ming had taken to be a lunatic became normal again. Qi Yunhong's true body went from being uneasy and at a loss to being calm. He bowed slightly to Yu Yuan and said, "Master." When he heard Qi Yunhong call him master, Yu Yuan knew that with the return of the heavenly soul, the madman in front of him had become Qi Yunhong. With a light cough, Yu Yuan held the soul wood spirit doll in his hand. He looked at Qi Yunhong, who was floating above one of the doll's fingers, and thought about how his Yin spirit was still imprisoned. "I sent your Yin spirit in because I wanted to use you to restrain the deadly, soul-slaying lightning. I wanted to break the pearl of illusion, but I didn't expect." Yu Yuan opened his mouth to explain, but he suddenly fell silent. He discovered that his thoughts could be instantly expressed through the soul wood spirit doll, and the transmission was completed in a single breath. So he gave it a try. Qi Yunhong's Yin spirit, who was also in the soul wood spiritual puppet, knew all of his explanations when he revealed his intentions. He knew that his actions were only to leave the pearl of illusion, and not because he really wanted to imprison his Yin spirit forever and enslave him. But, "You can leave and return your Yin spirit to your true body, and become yourself, Qi Yunhong." Yu Yuan lowered his head and looked at the soul wood spirit doll, as he said softly, "Words were law." His thoughts and inner voice received the response of the Yin spirit inscription in the soul wood spirit doll. Then, he saw his Yin spirit inscription raise a hand that was pressed on the table and point at the doll represented by Qi Yunhong. Whoosh! Qi Yunhong's Yin spirit slowly floated up from the body of the doll. At this time, Qi Yunhong discovered that there were sticky threads sticking to his Yin spirit in the form of a soul. As his Yin spirit slowly left the doll, he constantly felt weak. It was as if a layer of skin was peeling off from his Yin spirit. His Yin spirit was still moving up. He lowered his head and saw that the sticky threads were actually his Yin spirit's soul. When his Yin spirit left, these soul thoughts were pulled by the doll and taken away from his Yin spirit. Then, the threads gathered into a soul imprint within the doll's body and were forever left in the doll. Finally, Qi Yunhong's Yin spirit flew away from the soul wood spirit doll. Under the eyes of Yu Yuan, Qin Yun, Chu Jing, Huang Ming, and many other cultivators of the seven divine sects, it flew into the glabella of his true body. Qi Yunhong was shocked, and the light in his eyes suddenly shone brightly. His expression was calm with a hint of madness, like a volcano that was tightly suppressed with evil thoughts. The bottom was surging violently, but it looked calm from the outside. My Yin spirit's soul thoughts and consciousness formed a soul imprint. This imprint in the body of the doll can restrict me and know my movements. Looking at the soul wood spirit doll, Qi Yunhong roughly knew what had happened. However, I was already dead. After I exploded, the fragments of my own spirit were gathered again because of him. I came back from the dead because of him, because of that strange puppet. Also, Chi Yunhong couldn't help but think of the huge soul that he saw inside the doll, which was like an ancient god king. That kind of majesty that could only be looked up and not directly made him tremble in fear when he thought of it. He quickly made a decision. Chi Yunhong, who had fallen from the Sun Spirit realm to the Soul Wander realm, once again bowed respectfully to Yu Yuan. You, loyal and humble subordinate, Chi Yunhong, swear to be loyal to you. Yu Yuan was stunned for a moment, then laughed brightly and nodded. Good! This is the 7 divine sects, our original purpose. After laughing, he glanced at the surprised cultivators of the 7 divine sects who had heard the news and came over. He ordered, "You cooperate with him. His name is Qin Yun. Kill those who he thinks need to die." Chi Yunhong nodded. Qin Yun's spirit was greatly lifted. On the other hand, Huang Ming and the cultivators of the 7 divine sects, who were watching the fun, suddenly changed their expressions. Chu Jing of the Spirit Void sect also changed his expression. "You are mine." Yu Yuan jumped out of the cauldron and transmitted his thoughts to Yui. The dark cauldron suddenly rose into the air. After that, the cauldron rapidly expanded and turned into a huge black object in the air of the 7 divine sects. A breath that made everyone's soul feel cold began to spread in all directions because of the appearance of Consort Han. Crack! Crack! Many low-level cultivators of the 7 divine sects were trembling and subconsciously tightened their clothes, only to find that tightening their clothes or wearing more clothes was of no help to resist the cold. Puff! A beam of crimson sword radiance, which contained a fierce sword essence that could break through the 9th heaven and destroy the Star River, flew out of the scabbard in Yu Yuan's hand. Chu Jing, who had been alert for a long time, grabbed the big black umbrella and turned to go outside the moment he saw a little crimson flash. He held the big black umbrella with the umbrella on his back, facing Yu Yuan. There was also the falling moon slash that Yu Yuan had used. One after another, the crimson sword light shot toward Chu Jing and the big black umbrella in an endless stream. Chu Jing turned his back to him. He seemed to be moving slowly, but in fact, he was moving forward very fast. It was as if he had used a secret skill to shrink the distance. In a few breaths, he was already 5 kilometers away. The crimson sword radiance chased after him and stabbed into the surface of the big black umbrella with a puff sound. In the air, Consort Han, who was like a cold god, pointed her slender white arm at Chu Jing, who was running away. The corners of her mouth moved slightly, and she spat out vague syllables that were like divine punishment. Chu Jing, who was holding the phantom spirit umbrella, shuttled through the lush ancient forest with the help of this magical object. After Chu Jing walked past, the shorter trees magically turned into Chu Jing. They had the aura of flesh and blood and the fluctuation of soul, as if they were real. Bang! 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 7 Chu Jings in a row had crimson sword radiance explode in their bodies. Before their flesh and blood fell to the ground, they turned into bark and roots. With some unknown secret skill, Chu Jing transferred the crimson sword radiance from the meteor moon slash to the illusory trees to help him offset the damage. Yu Yuan, who had been swinging her meteor moon slash non-stop, had clearly locked onto Chu Jing with her soul awareness. Streaks of lightning that contained sword intent pierced into the illusory spirit umbrella one after another. However, when the sword radiance shot into the umbrella, Yu Yuan also felt that it had sunk into the sea. Then, he saw that Chu Jing seemed to be shattered by the sword radiance one after another. When they really exploded, they all turned into trees and flowers. Chu Jing, who was holding the umbrella, was not in a hurry to leave. After escaping from this forest, he turned his back to Nye Tian and wandered around, turning more trees into Chu Jing's figure. The essence of the meteor moon slash was continuous. It was one strike after another, and the power of the subsequent sword radiance would gradually increase. However, if the power of each strike, no matter how much it increased, missed, it would still be meaningless. Unless, with this thought, Yu Yuan suddenly saw that the trees, flowers, and the ground in the forest where Chu Jing was hiding were freezing at an astonishing speed. A deep blue cold mist enveloped the forest like a layer of gauze. The extreme cold currents that came from the frigid abyss of the Nine Hells suddenly intensified. Crack! Crack! All of the trees and flowers were frozen and cracked. Affected by the phantom spirit umbrella and Chu Jing's secret skill, they temporarily turned into dummies that he could use to improve himself. They fell to the ground with a thud and shattered into pieces of ice. Chu Jing, who was holding the umbrella, stood at the center of the broken pieces and suddenly found it difficult to move. Chapter 880. The Chu Jings exploded like ice crystals under the extreme frost. Holding the big black umbrella, Chu Jing felt as if he was at the bottom of the cold abyss of hell. His limbs, soul, blood, and even his mind were all infiltrated by the power of extreme frost. In midair, Consort Han, who looked like an ice god with a human body and a scorpion tail, seemed to be sneering in a low voice. The ice crystals on the ground were controlled by her force field and flew into the sky one after another. Then, following a specific trajectory, they pieced together to form a white ice tombstone that was almost 100 meters tall. On the ice tombstone there were two obvious ancient characters: Chu Jing. The moment the two ancient characters appeared on the tombstone, Chu Jing, who was holding the big black umbrella, had a terrible feeling that something was wrong in his soul in the snowy mountain forest below. It was as if his soul was imprisoned in an ice prison. The 100-meter-tall ice tombstone, like an iceberg surrounded by endless cold light, suddenly fell heavily. Boom! The terrifying shock wave caused by the ice tombstone's landing caused all the trees in the mountain forest that had been frozen by the power of extreme frost to explode instantly. The icy dust that filled the sky was like hailstones on a snowy day, falling down with a crackling sound. The mountain forest where Chu Jing was hiding was razed to the ground by this attack. Therefore, the illusory Chu Jing had released a wisp of blood essence and soul thought and injected into the trees with a secret method naturally died as a result. He could no longer withdraw his soul thought and blood essence that he had released outside. Of course, Chu Jing was severely injured. In the frozen, flat mountain forest, among the ice crystals all over the ground, Chu Jing was exposed alone. The fancy concealment, the construction of the illusion, and the fake substitute no longer existed. Crack! Yu Yuan stepped on the ice and shattered it. He held the scabbard in his hand and put the soul wood spirit doll back into his universe ring. In front of absolute strength, the fake formation you set up with the illusory spirit umbrella is a joke. Chu Jing's half-awake eyes that seemed to be forever closed were filled with seriousness. Qi Yunhong, you mad dog! At this time, he secretly cursed Qi Yunhong. In the world inside the illusory pearl, the blazing soul burning lightning that had been refined by the artifact's soul had swallowed up the fragments of Qi Yunhong's yang spirit. Originally, it could have suppressed Consort Han in that strange little world. All of the fiend demons inside the fiend demon cauldron that dared to show their faces would be turned to dust by the power of the burning soul lightning. As for him, his cultivation was a level higher than Yu Yuan's. He also had the illusory spirit umbrella and other artifacts that he could use. He believed that without the fiend demon cauldron as his greatest trump card, Yu Yuan wouldn't be his match even if he found him in that small world. However, the crazy Qi Yunhong did not hesitate to self-detonate and destroy everything. The illusory pearl shattered, the blazing soul burning lightning was exhausted, and the artifact soul died. He no longer had a helper like Consort Han, whose combat prowess was comparable to that of the sun god. Whoosh! Chu Jing turned the handle of the illusory spirit umbrella. Clusters of darkness spread out, as if they were evil that swallowed up the light, increasing the range of darkness in this icy and extremely cold world. First the crimson fire desert, then the 7 divine sects. You Chu Jing are courting death. Watching the darkness spread, Yu Yuan had a guess in his heart. Your personal relationship with Mo Yin of the Devil's Palace is indeed good. As the chosen one of the Spirit Void sect, there is actually dark demonic energy surging inside your illusory spirit umbrella. However, his voice dragged out, and he signaled Consort Han with his eyes. Crack! The huge, 100-meter-tall ice tombstone with the name Chu Jing on it split open the ground again. After flying several hundred meters in the air, it crashed to the ground again. It fell into the dark area formed by the dark demonic energy released by the illusory spirit umbrella. Boom! The earth trembled, and thousands of icicles of cold light scattered in the dark area. The huge ice tombstone turned into countless streams of extremely cold ice that attacked the dark area. With a power that was more than a level higher, it shot the darkness with a crushing momentum. After a moment, the darkness faded away. Chu Jing, who was holding the big black umbrella, had many small wounds on his body. The wounds were penetrated by the cold currents, and not a drop of blood flowed out. The illusory spirit umbrella was also invaded by the cold currents at this moment, and a thin layer of frost had appeared. Yu Yuan didn't even need to investigate to know that the small illusory world inside the illusory spirit umbrella should have turned into a harsh world of ice and snow, just like this mountain forest. Crack crack, as soon as Chu Jing opened his mouth, his teeth touched and he chewed the ice that covered him. His hair and eyebrows were also frozen. Even the small world in his sea of consciousness. It's not surprising that a late-stage Yin spirit would face a fiend demon whose battle strength is comparable to a Yang spirit and who has the aura of the 9 layers of cold abyss. After sighing with emotion, Yu Yuan held the scabbard and stabbed at Chu Jing's forehead. Soul-breaking slash. A beam of crimson sword light mixed with Yu Yuan's spiritual power, chi blood and soul thought, and added some power of Yin sunflower essence, instantly entered Chu Jing's mind. The crimson sword light penetrated, and Yu Yuan seemed to hear the shrill scream of a soul. In an instant, Chu Jing's head exploded like a watermelon that fell to the ground. Blood sprayed out, but it was frozen into red crystals because of the extreme cold power. Under the soul-breaking slash, Chu Jing was definitely dead. His Yin spirit, main soul, and life soul dissipated completely. Huh! Yu Yuan could even smell that Chu Jing's broken soul and thoughts, which had been scattered, immediately began to melt. They turned into wisps of smoke that were invisible to the naked eye and escaped into the ground. In the end, they converged into the Yin veins deep underground, passed through unknown and mysterious veins, and flowed into the source of the Yin veins in the Land of Terror? Yu Yuan seemed to understand something. Is it because my nether soul underwent a metamorphosis in the Land of Terror that I gained this strange perception? Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh! After Chu Jing died, the icy blue mist gathered towards Consort Han in midair. As the cold mist rose, the mountain forest that had been frozen by the extreme cold power gradually recovered its original temperature. However, it could no longer return to its original state. All the trees were broken, and all the mosquitoes were dead. Deep gullies appeared on the ground out of nowhere, as if sharp long swords had slashed across them. Before long, Consort Han gathered the cold currents that she had released outside. She gracefully bowed to Yu Yuan in the air. Thank you for your hard work. Yu Yuan nodded with a smile. Consort Han didn't respond with words. A beam of blue light flashed through her cold eyes, and then she returned to the small world inside the cauldron. Among the wood shavings and broken branches on the ground, besides Chu Jing's decapitated corpse, there was also the illusory spirit umbrella covered in frost. It was only this umbrella that Consort Han knew how powerful it was, so she didn't get rid of all the cold currents. The frost meant that after the death of its owner, the big black umbrella, which was inferior in level, was still being poisoned by Consort Han's remaining power. Yu Yuan seemed to be able to see the young man shivering in the world of ice and snow inside the big black umbrella. Illusory spirit umbrella, muttering to himself, he grabbed the handle of the umbrella, and with a thought, he put it into his universe ring. Just as he was about to search Chu Jing's corpse, Qi Yunhong whizzed over and landed on the ground. He's dead? Qi Yunhong widened his eyes. He first looked at Chu Jing's headless corpse, then turned his head and stared at Yu Yuan. Master, you killed Chu Jing? Do you know that Chu Jing is the next sect master of the Spirit Void sect? I know. Yu Yuan nodded. Master, you are too. Qi Yunhong's voice was a little hoarse. You are too reckless. You killed Chu Jing, and the Spirit Void sect will never let you go. Even I, who had long coveted the illusory spirit umbrella, did not dare to make a big fuss. I didn't expect it to be you. He was worried that Yu Yuan would be at a disadvantage. Seeing that Qin Yun was with the 7 divine sects, he did not need him to stabilize the situation. After being urged by Qin Yun, he rushed over. When he came over, he saw Chu Jing's death. This umbrella is of no use to me. Yu Yuan took out the illusory spirit umbrella that he had just put away from his universe ring and threw it to Qi Yunhong. He said, There should be many things on Chu Jing that belong to you. How about this, you check them carefully and they are all yours. Belong to me? Qi Yunhong was stunned. The illusory spirit umbrella was the same as the illusory spirit pearl. They were both heaven-level artifacts, and he should be familiar with refining them. Moreover, with the previous example, when he refined the illusory spirit umbrella again, he would definitely impose many evil restrictions on the artifact's soul to ensure that the artifact's soul in the form of a young man would not betray him. Yu Yuan was right. After the disaster, most of what he had hidden for many years had fallen into Chu Jing's hands. And now, Yu Yuan not only gave him a chance to return it to its rightful owner, but also gave him an additional great harvest. They are all yours, Yu Yuan repeated. Qi Yunhong was silent for a while, then suddenly bowed heavily to Yu Yuan. Thank you, Master. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.